And he and
And happy Friday, everybody. Welcome in to Cancel This. It is Friday, December 16th. I'm Vic Faust alongside Tap of the Hassle. Eric Johnson coming in for the big show. Scotty Gherkin on the boards. Who knows? Maybe Chris Knight will show up as well. We have a full cast of characters. And our Director of Marketing and Promotions, Lizzie Sparks, in-house today as well. Getting up early. Lizzie, good morning. She's off camera. We say hi. We'll talk to Lizzie in about 18 minutes or so. All right, if you're not aware, we are absolutely jam-packed today, but that's what we like to do, put on the best show we possibly can for you. It is Cancel This, cancelthisshow.com, where we're kind of the new kids on the block, doing things a little bit different, trying to have the full conversations, not leaving anything out, and, of course, trying to bring you the best show we possibly can. We're a live podcast, 3 hours every day, Monday through Friday, 7 to 10 a.m. Central. Jump in on the show if you want. We'll include that video link for you as well. If you want a video link with us, you can during the free periods that we have today, but we are packed. And, of course, we're trying to bring you the best show we can. It is Friday, bringing you into the weekend, coming up at about 7:25-ish. It's part of our Paranormal Friday, the Free-for-All Friday. Lizzie Sparks in studio today to talk things over with Eric Johnson. If you can't believe this story, or if you can't, it's absolutely insane when you think, first of all, what are the chances that they both lived in the same haunted house, met each other, realized that they lived in the same house, and then talked about Walter? And both had their stories about Walter. Who's Walter? Well, Walter. Well, we'll let them tell you who Walter is. Walter lived in that house at one point as well before he passed away.
and you'll never sleep again.
Dun,
I didn't sleep
dun.
for days after hearing the story.
I had to walk out when I first heard the story as well. It gave me chills. But anyway,
Me too.
we're going to take that to the top of the hour. Then at about 8:05, we're going to talk to GS3 from Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach. George Steger III, GS3, big supporter of the show, young Republican from the state of Michigan. He was down in Florida last night. He sent me some pictures. We'll see if we can show you those. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but we'll get a vibe of what happened last night at the Lincoln dinner. He sent me some pictures. He was taking pictures with Carrie Lake, with Donald Trump. So we're going to check in with George, making his first appearance on the show. He was a big reason why we started this in the first place. When I was fired from Fox 2, he immediately was on the phone. Vic, you're doing this. It's time. It's time to tell the full story on everything.
I love it.
So George will bring his energy. That he better have energy. I told him last night.
I'm sure he will.
George likes to have a good time. So, and he was having a good time late into the night. And then coming up at 9 o'clock, we're going to talk with Glenn Boyer, one of my former professors at the University of Missouri, who was canceled by MIZZOU because he was doing a dissertation on the study of Rush Limbaugh and his effects and the success that he was having in radio. They flat out fired him out of the University of Missouri.
I can't wait because Rush was so incredibly successful. And I can't tell you, even in conservative radio, how many people have told me don't talk about Rush because he was ostracized and he couldn't sell ads. A guy was worth $800 million when he passed away.
You'll be ostracized. Okay. He's a legend. He's the best to ever do radio. So anyway, we'll talk with Glenn Boyer. He's joining us from the East Coast this morning. So we got people all over the country joining us this morning. We look forward to having you into the show today. Once again, it is cancelthisshow.com, cancelthisshow.com. I'm Vic Faust with Tabitha Hassel. Eric Johnson joining us in just a bit. Before we get to that part of the Paranormal Friday, I hope somebody told Eric that he is the star of the show at 7:25.
Hopefully he's listening and on his drive in.
Yeah, we'll take care of that. In the meantime, tons of stories going on, and that's what we try to do. Tabitha, I continue to get updates from people. We appreciate all the work that Tabitha puts in throughout the day to find out what's going on, not only in this country, but across the world. And before we hit on some of the topics that you want to, in what we affectionately call Tab's Takes, if we can finally get into any of those, because you have so many. I love
Scotty's like, I was on that text thread last night.
I had this thing fun. What?
I'm not kidding you when I say I read every news article every single day.
Let's not bury the
All
lead.
of them.
Tabitha sent like 50 story ideas in a matter of 2 minutes. I finally had to say affectionately, Tab, stop. We're packed for Friday. Save those topics for next week. Vic, everybody's going to forget about them by next week.
I know that's like my it's my passion.
It is.
I am not kidding you. If you were robbed in Delaware somewhere and it made the news, I've read it.
It probably. That's why you're here, and we appreciate it.
And so when I see some of these stories, and there are so many, I'm like, we have to tell people about all this stuff. And it drives me crazy that I don't have like a 24-hour news feed that I can just throw all these news things out there. Maybe I need my own ticker on the Renew Media site.
There we go. I like it. I like the idea. I like where it's going. One of the big stories today that I wanted to hit on because I absolutely love it, and I'm still trying to figure out Elon Musk. But one thing you cannot do as a journalist, and shame on you people. I'm going to call him up. Elon found out that there were 3 journalists in particular that were doxing him and sharing his exact location. That's an effing no. You know better than that.
Including his airplane. Somebody had it's
total
feed
crap. And you know you are a
airplane.
journalist. That's sad. No, you should not be allowed to write a story, talk about a story ever again. So Elon, I don't even want to give their names. They don't deserve the attention. But bottom line, Elon, he banned their Twitter accounts.
Yes, he did.
For 7 days.
Several different publications. Washington
Well, I'll just say it. Donnie O'Sullivan, New York Times, technology reporter. Surprise, surprise. Ryan Mack. Oh, Washington Post. Surprise, surprise. Actually, CNN correspondent is Donnie O'Sullivan. The New York Times technology reporter is Ryan Mack. And the Washington Post reporter was Drew Harwell. So Elon was like, you can talk about me all day. You can call me all the names you want to call me, but you're not going to freaking dox me and tell people the exact location. Those are safety issues, not only with him, but with his family. And it just goes to show you the links that these liberal newspapers and publications will go to try to hurt somebody that they don't like, who is now telling all sides of the story, which is what we try to do here at Cancel This. So then Elon asked all of his Twitter followers to vote on whether they should have their accounts back. The guy's genius. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out Elon. He seems too good to be true. And we all know in life, a lot of times if something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But in the meantime, I'm loving what he's doing. And I love the fact that he put it out to the people, to the masses about doing that. So Musk scrapped the poll after 43% said the accounts should be reinstated. And 57% collectively said they should remain suspended. So in 7 days, they get to come back if they so desire. But shame on those reporters for doing that. You know better than that. When safety issues are at stake, you don't do crap like that just because you don't like what a man is doing, what he is saying, and maybe because he has decided to turn from liberal to conservative, or at least turn away from liberal, even if he hasn't joined the Republican side yet.
He said that he would vote Republican in the next election.
Yeah, but just because you vote doesn't mean you turn.
No, I agree completely. I think Elon is his own person, like so many of us are, and there's nothing wrong with that. To me, I'm not a Republican, but I have to vote Republican because I would never vote Democrat. But so many people are in that middle plane. Can you repeat
that again? Sarah, that doesn't make any sense.
That I'm not a Republican.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in the Republican Party. I cannot stand the GOP or the RNC, a bunch of criminals in
Tabitha.
All sides of the.
Oh, okay, you're going off on that. Okay,
I'm not. You know what? Because I am anti-establishment. The GOP is all establishment. So sorry about that. But yeah, some people they just do their thing like Elon.
Okay, so that's Elon. We'll continue to jump in on that. If you guys want to, you can as well. I'm curious, out of all of the stories you were looking at yesterday, and I know it's difficult, Tabitha, because if you see 50, it may be hard to pick out one.
Oh, it's not that hard.
Okay, what's got your goat this morning?
I think what most interests me this morning is President Donald Trump. And that is because he continues to make liberal heads explode. And it's so funny because
And we're going to be talking about him more at 9 or at 8 o'clock as well.
Yes, we are. And I bet if Donald Trump gave a speech at the Lincoln dinner last night, it was about this. And so Donald Trump announced that he has a big announcement coming. And everybody freaked out. All these journalists started publishing all these reports that it was about his new NFT collection. He has these new, they're like baseball cards, NFTs that he's selling. They're $99 each, etc. And everybody's like, oh, that's the big announcement. That's so stupid, blah, blah, blah. Nope, that wasn't the big announcement. What the big announcement was, and this is absolutely fantastic, is that in 2024, Trump, if he wins the election in 2024, he is going to have a free speech policy plan.
What the hell is that?
It is absolutely amazing. So he released a statement. It's called the Restoring Free Speech Overview. And he lists, I posted this on my personal Facebook page. I will post it later on our Cancel This Facebook page. But it goes over the points for free speech. Amongst those, I won't read them all right now, but amongst those, he's going to ban federal agencies from colluding to censor American citizens. He's going to ban taxpayer dollars from being used to label speech as misinformation or disinformation. He's going to fire every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship. Immediately, he's going to send preservation letters to the Biden administration and big tech giants. He's going to order the DOJ to investigate all parties involved in online censorship regime, and he's going to prosecute any and all crimes identified. And there's so many more. That's
a lot.
I love it. It is. And there are more. But, we have to have somebody fighting for our free speech. We have to have somebody fighting for that amendment. We have to have people back the Constitution. And that's something we are definitely not seeing in the Biden administration.
And when it comes to the Donald Trump announcements, and we'll talk more to GS3 about that coming up at 8:05, does this mean he's for sure running?
He's already said he is for sure running.
And you don't think he'll backtrack on that?
I do not think he will backtrack.
And Ron DeSantis has not announced that he is running.
He has told many people he is not running.
And that's what's going to be interesting to see where all of that goes. Speaking of running for president, CNN did a poll yesterday that was released. CNN, I repeat it, CNN, just 40% of likely Democratic voters said that they want to see Joe Biden run again. And that is CNN.
I know. What a
Did
great
I say
study.
CNN poll? CNN. 40% of the likely Democratic voters that they polled said they would like to see him. 60% said no. That's speaking.
And they
volumes.
went a step further than that, Vic. A majority of the people who said Democrats on CNN said they would vote for DeSantis over Biden in that same poll.
What was the polling?
They said they would vote for DeSantis over Biden.
Are you sure?
I am positive.
That's saying something.
It was part of that 50 news articles I sent to you guys.
Okay. The other part about that polling too, which was interesting, talking about taking it a step further, CNN did. And I found this to be interesting as well. They also found that 74% of likely Democratic voters, 35 and younger. So let's just round up. 75% of Democratic voters, 35 and younger, say they want a new candidate. They don't want him. So the younger base is like, we don't want Joe Biden. To me, that speaks volumes a lot, and bring that up because of what you were talking about when it comes with Donald Trump.
What worries me about that, though, is I think these young Democrats, that Biden is not far left enough for them. I think a lot of these young Democrats are looking for a Bernie Sanders. And even though Bernie Sanders supporters are calling the shots, they're the ones creating all these ridiculous policies the Biden administration is throwing at us. That's not good enough for them. They know that Bernie really won in the primary. They know he really should be in that spot right now. And they are fighting tooth and nail to get him or someone like him in that spot.
Well, another headline that we try to get to before we get to the rest of the show today, one that you brought up that I want to bring up, and this is interesting. And some people probably think, oh, we've heard about that. Nothing's going to happen. Look this way or look that way if something comes up. Epstein victim, Sarah Ransom, vowing to release video. This is videotape identifying some VIP elites sexually assaulting children. First of all, it's sick to even say this or talk about it. Why is she talking about this publicly?
Well, she just gave her testimony 2 days ago. Did you read her testimony?
No, I didn't.
Well, her testimony, it was pretty interesting. I read the entire testimony. She describes Epstein Island as a brothel. She said there were various...
Because she was there.
She was there many times. She said there were various tents set up around the island, and these tents were nothing more than tents set up to make things easier access, etc. Most of them were featured around some type of bed when you walk in. She talked about some of the other victims that were also at Epstein Island. She said some of them were very, very young, far under the age of 18. Some of them were drugged. There were instances where she would come across a young person and they didn't even know how they got to the island. They don't even remember being there.
Where are the national publications? Why is this story not in the headlines every single day?
Yes.
We still don't know anybody. Just like Max Lane, she is still in prison. She's still alive.
390 something days since her conviction.
And we still don't know. If Americans don't wake up on that side of the story and want and vow and demand answers, that says a lot about America. And the national media hiding things when it comes to those stories. What the hell is going on? How the hell do we still not know? And we have professional athletes publicly calling for the names to be released. Who is holding the names back? Where is this happening? Why is it happening?
Absolutely. If anyone has the opportunity, her name is Sarah Ransom. Go back and you can find it anywhere online. Look at the testimony of Sarah Ransom, because while her testimony does not name any names, it is mind-blowing when you go back and you read the specifics of Epstein Island. You read about the flights and the things she was promised and how all the girls were terrified of Maxwell and the drugging of some of these young girls. And I mean, these were young girls. And the way that she stated this all took place, and I'm not trying to be too graphic, but she basically said that Epstein would be in a room and they would just funnel these young girls in and out of his room.
Oh.
One would leave and they'd send another one in. It was, I don't understand. It was like nonstop. And I don't know. I don't even know what to say. It's just heartbreaking to read these stories. Heartbreaking.
So it was another headline that you brought up that was sick to my stomach. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised that the stuff continues to happen.
We shouldn't be surprised. And I really am one of those people. I don't know if we'll ever have names. I really do not know if we will ever have names, because I think that the folks who are doing the prosecuting, the folks who are in charge of getting the names out, are the people involved. I really don't think we're ever going to hear names. I think the names are too high up on the elite list for them to ever allow them to be released.
Well, in the meantime, as we continue to talk about some of the things, Tabitha, pick out an international story that out of all of them that are coming up.
Well, there's a lot.
And I know, pick out one in a second. Scotty, if we could we get Lizzie set up in her chair? Because we're going to get ready to talk with Lizzie Sparks, our director of marketing and promotions. We'll start with her as Eric comes in, because a big part of our Paranormal Friday segment is going to be Lizzie Sparks and Eric Johnson talking about what they did, what they saw, what they witnessed, how luck would have it, how fate would have it that these two people would live in the same haunted house and then years apart meet each other and start sharing stories like, what? You did this, you did that. So we'll start with Lizzie in just a moment. Eric will come in while we're talking with Lizzie about what happened from that standpoint. But before we get that, and as we get Lizzie set up, and you don't want to miss that. And of course, GS3 coming up at 8 o'clock. We're going to talk to him. He was at the Lincoln dinner last night in Mar-a-Lago. He was sending me pictures of Donald Trump, taking pictures of Carrie Lake. Look forward to talking to him. And then at 9 o'clock, talking with one of my former professors at the University of Missouri, Glenn Boyer, who was canceled because he was trying to do a dissertation and some information on the effects and success that Rush Limbaugh had in radio broadcasting. They kicked his ass right out of MIZZOU.
Isn't that
Sad.
crazy?
I never knew until he told me. So
I can't wait to hear from him.
but we'll get to that. But I wanted to make sure while we get Lizzie set up, what is a headline that people need to be paying attention to when it comes to an international story?
Something that has been a big story and is going to become a bigger story is what's taking place again over in Ukraine. Because we have right now so many moving parts to this situation. One of them being, I remember me being banned on Facebook like a couple weeks ago. Just a couple weeks ago, I got like a 30-day live ban, a 3-day no comment ban. That was because I posted a story from Military Times about mini bombs that the United States is sending over to Ukraine. They are taking these mini bombs and they are going to put those on missiles, and then they are going to lob these missiles at Russia. And so I was banned on Facebook for reporting the truth. And now Putin has stepped out, and remember how a while back we had all those PSAs on nuclear attacks. They were telling people how to take shelter, etc. And nuclear attack has been big on a lot of our minds. And that came up again yesterday because Putin came forward and made another statement. And once again said, like he has said so many times, if you continue, you, the United States, you, the West, you, Europe, if you continue to support Ukraine, if you continue giving them heavy artillery, if they start bombing Russia because you are giving them these mini bombs, we are going to escalate. And why do we keep poking the bear? Now we have troops on the ground on the Ukrainian border. That there's no doubt at some point.
Is this what you would call a proxy war?
Oh, no question. It's been a proxy war since day one. And look at how we come out against Iran because they have proxy wars in other countries. We're doing the exact same thing. We're sending, at this point, over $1 trillion to Ukraine, heavy equipment. We don't know where any of these weapons are. They're ending up in Africa. There are probably some of them here back in the United States. Big weapons, Javelin missiles out on the black market. We're sending all of this stuff over to Ukraine. We are supporting this war. The blood is on our hands. This war would have been over a long time ago had we not continued sending money and weapons.
Why do you think we don't hear that in the national media?
Because
all we do,
you know why.
Well, no, I don't. All we do is we praise Zelensky, we praise Ukraine, we praise anything and everything without questioning. Congress is starting to question the amount of money that we have sent to Ukraine. The national media, Time Magazine, CNN, Zelensky this, Zelensky that. Now, I'm not saying I'm against him. I'm just saying
I am.
Just start to study and look at why and how much money we're giving to Ukraine when there are so many other things that we could be doing here. Then when you see what Russia is saying about the situation, but most Americans aren't paying enough attention. That's why what you're saying in the study that you're doing is so important.
They don't pay attention, and the media will not allow anyone to discuss it. Social media, every time I talk about it too in depth, I get banned on Facebook. Social media doesn't want you to talk about it. And here we have Zelensky, the 2022 Person of the Year, and Time Magazine. He and his wife splashed all over the cover of Vogue right while he's in the middle of the war, while real people are actually dying in his country. It's ridiculous. And you know what, Vic, the reason why they don't want this out there is because most of us know that Ukraine is nothing but a center for money laundering, for illegal biolabs, for sex trafficking. There's so much going on in the country of Ukraine that we have to protect it. And that's why we're over there fighting to protect our own interests and our own secrets.
And by the way, on that note, the third week of January, we're going to have a member live in studio of the Ukrainian parliament in studio to break all of this down. You will not want to miss this guest, of course, in the weeks leading up to that, but he'll be in studio, Ukrainian member of parliament, who's going to talk more about what's actually happening on the ground, the problems that he sees America be involved with, and who the real Zelensky really is.
A little dancing puppet.
Well, that's what he's going to be talking about in studio. You'll have a lot to talk with him about.
And I kid not, for the people who don't know this, Zelensky was actually a comedian.
Yeah.
Before he became president, he was a comedian.
I saw him in his dancing heels.
There are videos out there of him in a little tutu dancing. There's videos of him in heels dancing very provocatively with other men. And when he became president, and the way he became president is anyone who opposed him was imprisoned. And to this day, as president of Ukraine, He does not give press conferences. He has never answered a question
Who else
to
doesn't give
any
press
member
conferences?
of the media. That's exactly
Who
right.
else doesn't give press conferences?
Right out of the old book.
Joe Biden. I'm going to shake your. Oh, nobody's there to shake their hand. Hey, speaking of which, time to switch gears a little bit. Great. We try to fire as much in as we possibly can. We've got a lot more today because the show moves so fast. But now we move to the paranormal part of our Friday.
Ooh.
Eric will be coming into studio, but we start, and it's a perfect segue to get in with our director of marketing and promotions. You may see her on our social media all the time. Lizzie Sparks, good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome into the Cancel This studio.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
Good morning.
Okay, do we have Lizzie? Do we hear Lizzie? Because I couldn't hear Lizzie in my ears. I hope we hear Lizzie. I couldn't hear Lizzie. So
You've been
As we-
silenced already.
I've been canceled already.
now we got Lizzie.
Okay, so I'm not canceled anymore.
It's good. Lizzie, there's so many things we talk about. First of all, you do a phenomenal job promoting the show, and we appreciate that because you love what we do, and that's why you jumped in to be a part of what we're doing. So we're grateful for that.
It's exciting.
But we put all that on the side because the
Right.
most important story, part of Paranormal Friday, give us a background of a house that you've lived in and what happened, because this is in the St. Louis area.
Yes, it's actually in St. Peter's, and I won't give the exact address because as both my family and Eric experienced, is once the address is given out, people will drive past the house and just sit there and take pictures, and so it's kind of creepy. So I won't give that out. However, there is a book about it that was written while we were living there, and if you find the book, it is a St. Louis native. Her name is Scotty Priestmeyer, and she'd be great to have on sometime. And the book is called The Cheater, the Walter Scott Story. So that's the house. And anybody that's probably my age and older, especially if they're from like North County or St. Charles County, the singer was the lead singer of the Bob Cuban Band. And he wrote, well, he didn't write it. I think Bob Cuban wrote the song, but he sang, he was the lead singer in The Cheater. And so literally that story or that song was what he did. So he ended up being a cheater, and it ended up killing him, actually. So
How did it end up killing him?
well,
If that's fair for me to ask.
yeah, it's fair. He got married for a second time to a lady, and I guess he was what they would call a cheater. And so his wife wanted to kind of get back at him. And so she started having an affair with a man that at the time was like an inspector, like a house inspector. And he was also an electrician. So she started an affair with that particular person. And the reason why I'm not saying names, unless you want me to.
No, we don't need that. It's fine.
Is because everybody lives around here and their children live around here. And their children are good people. I've met some of their children and they have nothing to do with this.
We only need it for context of why he died from being a cheater.
Yes. So it was basically, to boil it down, it was the life insurance. So Walter's second wife, and I'm saying second because the first wife had nothing to do with this. Second wife started having an affair with a gentleman that lived in Cottleville. And he was in Cottleville and he killed he killed his wife before killing Walter. And how that happened was, it looked like she was just driving down, for any of you that are in this area, if you're not in this area, you won't know this road, but if you've been around here at all, it's called Central School Road. And it looked like she had a car accident, and the coroner had said that a bowling ball jumped and hit her in the back of the head.
A bowling ball? From the back seat?
Yeah, from the back seat. Jumped from the back and literally hit her in the head. And nobody questioned it back then, because this was in the early 80s when anybody that knew St. Charles County then, it was very what they would call podunk. Nobody questioned any officials. It was very country and nobody questioned anything. So this went on for a while that nobody really investigated her murder until Walter got murdered. And he was murdered in the kitchen of the house that both my family and Eric lived in.
How was he murdered?
It turns out there's a whole bunch of speculative stories, but from what the book says and from what we would say from evidence we found in the house, he was killed point blank by a gun in his chest. And then he was dragged out of the house by what I really won't say who it was, but it's somebody that still lives in St. Charles County, was involved in helping this other gentleman move Walter Scott out of the house.
Who is apparently not in jail.
Well, he is in jail and he died in jail.
Okay.
Yes. The person who
So
did
he's
it,
not out on the streets.
correct. He's not. And he did go to jail for this, and he ended up having a heart attack a couple times and then died in prison. So he did all that. But the weird thing is they took him to his own house in Cottleville and hung him by a rope, and he was in a cistern or a well. And he had been there for, I guess, 3 or 4 years before they exhumed his body.
Damn.
So you can imagine
Damn.
the graphicness of what happened to him when they pulled him out with the rope. And that's kind of where Eric kind of came into this, as I overheard him talking. It might have been to you, Tabitha, the other night. And here he comes. Here he comes.
So basically,
My scary creature buddy.
That's how Walter died.
Yes.
You move into
Yes.
the house. Did you know that Walter was killed in his house before you moved into this said house?
I did, because I lived in the same subdivision about 10 streets over. And that's years ago where I had met Eric. I lived 10 streets over, and he was friends with some of the neighbors on that street.
So you moved into a home knowing that someone had been murdered there.
I didn't know he was murdered in the house.
But
until
she knew the
after you
she
moved
knew
in.
the
I knew
house
the
was
story.
haunted.
I did. And I only
Oh,
I know, and I don't know that I knew that it was haunted. I just knew that there was this big controversy.
okay.
I did not know it was haunted.
Well, of
I just
course
knew
not.
there was a controversy about it.
But
I
when you moved into the house, you found some things
Yes.
that made you realize that he actually was murdered in the house. Things the
Correct.
police did not find,
Correct.
which is very eerie to me.
Well, and the house was apparently never searched. So when he died, no one ever came and searched the house ever. And we weren't in there very long. And we had like an alarm company come in to the basement where it had drop ceiling. And when he did, all of a sudden he's like, what the heck is this? What the heck is this? And he found like bullet casings, and he found checks. And the checks told everything. It was the payouts that they paid and who was involved. And the interesting thing is Walter's second wife and the boyfriend already had a bank account together with their names, with her name before she ever married him, had already had her name different than Walter's last.
So you start to find this stuff. How long did it take for you to start to experience paranormal in the house?
I would say we were probably already experiencing it, but we didn't have any idea. But I know we were when we were having the kitchen remodeled, and we pulled out a big, it never made any sense. There was this huge pantry thing, but was made out of wood. And when it got moved, the repair person was like, oh my gosh, there's blood on the floor. And our neighbor at the time, she was a nurse. So she came over and did whatever she had to do for a testing kit and saw that it was blood. And I was reading the book, and at that time the book had come out too. And just reading the book and actually living in the house and knowing there's blood there, that is creepy enough. And then we started if anybody that's ever seen anything paranormal, you'd be sitting and you'd all of a sudden think there was something behind you. And it happened in 2 particular places in the house. One was in the basement, and one was upstairs. And it would be like,
but not the kitchen where he was shot and murdered.
I never really felt anything there. Occasionally,
I can't
would
wait to
feel
talk to Eric and
a
find out if Eric saw
breeze
anything in the kitchen.
in the kitchen, but really, no, I can't say that I felt anything in the kitchen, but upstairs for sure. And downstairs, you were always thinking someone was looking at you.
It would be so weird to move into a house knowing that somebody disappeared while they were in the house and
Mhm.
murdered, not knowing they were murdered actually in the house, and then finding not only all this evidence, but blood that the police never found.
Correct.
But that's not paranormal. That's just
Well, it's
That's
not,
just
but it's
weird.
creepy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
creepy.
That creeps me out more than the paranormal
Oh
part.
no.
I would
See, that's
rather have a
interesting.
ghost than dried blood under
Hell
my
no, I'd rather
furniture.
see the blood than see a ghost.
Really?
The blood means
Oh.
something's already happened. The ghost means it's active.
Right. Right.
I'm like, F that. I'm out of
Right?
the house. So how many instances do you first of all, how long did you live in the house?
We owned the house from, I guess, like 1996 when we moved in, and we officially moved out around 2011. We moved out in the middle of it a couple times. because it was kind of freaky. And my husband was in real estate at the time. So we would just go move in one of the houses he was flipping because it was just, it just was weird. And all my kids felt it as well.
What do you mean they felt it? Like a presence?
Yes, especially in the basement. My son's room was in the basement.
Oh my gosh.
And
I'm done.
and it was so weird because then we find out after the fact too, from Walter's parents and after reading the book, that the lady who was married to Walter Scott, that the boyfriend did all the killing, her father died in that room in the basement.
Oh my gosh.
And that's where I think kind of you almost felt like the person might be old. Like what? Like there was 2 or 3 different kind of people or ghosts or whatever it was. And I didn't know this right away, but we found out after the fact that her dad died in the basement. And I don't know if it's more than a rumor, but the book even says it, that they think that the wife poisoned her own father because he started questioning, where's Walter? What happened? He was questioning and then questioning, why did the new boyfriend move in literally the day that Walter disappeared? They hadn't found his body. His like the car was put at the airport and they're looking at him for days and already the boyfriend moved in. And the dad just thought that was really odd, of course, that nobody's looking for Walter. So
what all did you experience? I know you mentioned
she'd look around
she'd
and like
look
feel his
around
presence.
like
Oh, there he
and
goes.
feel something or see out of the corner of your eye. Was there anything else?
there was a pool in the backyard that we had put in. And when the kids would be outside, or even if somebody wouldn't be outside, there's a window, couple windows that looked out, and there was a lake behind there too. And they'd look, and you always would think somebody was looking in the window, and you would turn around and look. And at first we thought it was back to 20 acres of common ground, and there were houses on the other side. So we just thought people were walking up. We would even hear splashing in the hot tub and that sort of thing. And there'd be nobody there. We'd hear splashing in the pool. And we would just assume for a while, yeah, there's just people that are jumping in our pool. So we put cameras up, and we would hear the same thing, and there would never be anybody there. And it wouldn't be windy. It was the weirdest thing.
I don't know. I mean, I know when you buy a house and you move in, but I mean, are you a faithful person or you're a prayerful person?
I am. And that's where I didn't believe. I'm definitely a Christian. And we don't have enough time for today, some of the things that happened with being a Christian. So we called over pastors, and we had people pray over the house, and they would go and pray in every room because they said they felt something in there. So, yeah.
Okay. And at this point, we welcome him, Eric. Eric, good morning.
Why do you need to welcome me in at all?
Well,
Some fascinating.
It is
stuff.
fascinating. But the thing about this is Lizzie lived in this house before you.
Yes.
Yes.
And you meet Lizzie.
And I heard her name all the time. I did. I never put the
What
two
was
and two
Walter?
together.
Was Walter saying
Because,
it?
no,
Walter was like,
no.
"I
So this
was
goes
here.
way back. This goes way back. As
I
a matter of
see dead
fact,
people.
I had a girlfriend in high school. I won't say her name. And I just saw her the other night. She says hi. And
Hi.
she used to live right
Right.
next door to her. So in high school, I used to know her as Liz.
Correct.
It wasn't Lizzie back then, it was Liz. So that's even more intrigue and fascination in this whole story. So I'm going to Francis
Ooh.
Howell High School. Boom, they are living
Ooh,
right.
Francis Howell.
Yeah, go Howell, state champions. They used to live right next door to each other. Fast forward like 5 years, when that was 5 years ago, and all of a sudden, I like the house. I don't know how I found the place. I think I found the lake in the back.
Yeah,
Right,
it's awesome.
there's a great lake in the back. It's beautiful. It's in a subdivision which I considered Ladue back in the high.
It would have been considered Ladue back then.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
St. Peter.
For our listeners out of state, Ladue is a very well-to-do area in the
Correct.
St.
It was like
St. Louis
the
County area.
subdivision.
Yeah.
That's why Walter moved there, and other people, because like people with money moved there. You wouldn't say that today. It's just normal. It's
Yeah.
not bad. It's just normal.
Yeah, now it's just a
So you
normal
liked it and you
blue
bought it.
collar place. Yeah, so I went
Did
back
you
there.
know?
No. I went back there and I saw the pool that Lizzie built and the nice trees. And I remember riding my bike through that subdivision when I was a kid. And I didn't know who Walter Scott was at all. First of all, the guy that sold me the house didn't even bring up Walter Scott.
Of course he didn't.
Because
And
then
we
he
sold
has-
it to him.
Yeah, because instead of talking about plumbing and electrical issues, we would have been talking for hours about, oh my God, is this place haunted?
Yeah.
So no, he never brought it up to me, except the day that we bought the place, and he kind of did one of those things where he slaps his head. He goes, "Oh, I forgot to tell you something." I go, "What?" "Yeah, Walter Scott used to live here, and he killed his wife, and he was killed, and his wife killed his boyfriend's cheating wife also. So anyway, have fun." I just want to throw that out there. Yeah. And then I got like chills.
Hell yeah, you did. When you told me this story, I got chills.
Because you hear all of these stories about people who move into a house who 10 years later find out that the grandma died in the bedroom that you're sleeping in. And it freaks you out, right?
Yeah,
Oh, does it freak you out?
Heck yeah, I've got chills right now.
Yeah.
I haven't slept seriously since you guys told me the story last Friday.
So Eric, how long did it take you to realize that this place was haunted, or when were your first experiences? Or with what we're assuming it's Walter.
Okay. So yeah, like I knew about the haunt. Okay, so the story is this: that Walter was leaving the house, and the guy was following him and murdered him, and then took him to the
Yeah,
cistern.
Lizzie,
Yes.
Lizzie was telling us that.
But then it comes out, I mean, just creepy, weird things happened after that. Some guy, I mean, this place was like a weird museum because it was on the ID channel. It was on the Discovery Channel. It was on Channel 5. I mean, it was all over the place. It was kind of
for being haunted.
yeah, well, for the
For the
story.
murder itself.
Because women love the ID channel. I'm sorry, they just do. And they watch it.
All people love the ID channel.
Not
I
all
heard.
people, but
All
mainly
people.
women. It's like the Hallmark channel with guns. It's really
No,
strange.
that's
For
Lifetime.
sure.
Lifetime,
That's
whatever.
Lifetime.
And so, I've noticed people. I guess Lizzie.
No, but what are the examples? People want to know what kind of example.
I'm going to give them to you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm going to give them to you. I noticed cars started going by the house real slow at night because they were interested, right?
Yeah, they were
I mean,
interested. We had it the whole time.
There was nothing nefarious, but at 11 o'clock at night, when there's a car going by real slow, it's kind of creepy first.
Sometimes with binoculars.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that was the first thing I noticed. Second thing I noticed is some guy, I don't know who he was, but he comes up to the house. I was pulling my gear out from a PRL show the night before, and some guy walks up to the house, walks by two or three times, and he comes up, knocks on the door, and he says, "Hey, I don't know who you are, but I just want to let you know that the story is that Walter was killed not in the house, but I know for a fact that he was killed in the house." And I was like, "Oh no, no, you did
And
not."
My guess from what you told me the other night too, it is the nurse's husband, probably.
Maybe.
Probably.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
It was just one of those things where, you don't expect to see that. If you live in a nice house and you buy and nobody died in there,
You're already on edge of hearing this.
I'm on edge because the guy that sold it to me said, "Yeah, my wife," because he lived there also. The guy that sold it to me, he goes, "Yeah, my wife wanted to move because she was kind of creeped out." It never bugged me. I mean, this is literally the conversation that I had as I'm signing paperwork, literally, and we can get him on the show too, also. But moving forward, I guess the first paranormal thing that I saw that I remember, because I don't totally believe in that stuff, because I kind of feel like,
Right. I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah.
You believe in ghosts and spirits.
I think you can trick your mind into seeing things. I
So
do.
what
I
did
really
you-
do.
what
And
did
you know,
see
up
or
until you
experience?
said it, that's why I've not talked about it much, is because we were in our late 20s, early 30s, and now you can fast forward 20 years later. I thought it was something that just happened because I was young and maybe this stuff didn't really happen. And then it almost seemed like another life. But what he was starting to say was exactly what we had.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't wait to hear this again.
Well, everybody had their. Well, there's actually a really interesting story that she did something to the house because of something, and that's been freaking me out since the last time I talked to you. But the first time because I used to do a show with DC Chimes. I don't know if you remember DC in the St. Louis. Yeah, you of course. It's Stephen DC. Stephen DC. I don't know. I seriously, I have no idea.
Conversations.
So DC came over to my house, and I don't remember what we were doing. I think we were barbecuing or having some kind of meeting or whatever it was. And it got, as the party's kind of winding down, I remember seeing what I thought was DC in my basement window. I go, "God dang it, I don't trust that guy to save my life, man." No, I'm kidding, DC. I'm just teasing. But I don't, it's like, who is this guy? He's downstairs with my guitars. Okay, I'll go say, time to come upstairs. And I turn around, and booyah, there's DC coming out the upstairs door. I go, wait,
Oh, crap.
I go, who the hell was downstairs in a locked
And
door?
it wasn't DC.
It wasn't DC. And it was clear as day.
That's wild.
So either someone walked in the front door, walked out downstairs to my basement, looked outside at the ducks in the lake, or it was something paranormal.
That was
And
Walter.
it was non-negotiable. It was there. I'm telling you guys right now, it was totally there. And then I turn around, look back, nothing's there.
Mhm.
I had to walk in the house and make sure that the basement door was closed.
Closed, right?
I had to
Yeah.
do it.
My gosh.
And it's one of those things where you are in your mind for at least an hour afterwards
Yeah.
saying, what the hell did I just see? And I
Mhm.
have to go to bed in this house.
Right.
So
for
what
sure.
did
That
you
was number one.
Oh my, there's more. What else?
Oh,
happened?
there's any haunted house that's not having cabinets flung all over the place, a poltergeist, is the human condition.
That'll give me chills.
Tabitha's not going to be sleeping about cabinets busted open in your house.
Well, the human condition, especially for someone that doesn't believe in this stuff, is, I am starting to do my own research. I love Paranormal Friday. Scotty, you're gonna have to jump in on this eventually. But my own research is that there's a very thin veil between us and whatever's happening on the other
Absolutely.
side.
Of course.
It's there. It's infinite. There's multiple possible, but if your mind is at ease after I always used to work in the basement.
Yeah.
That's where my office, I put it down
Oh.
there. Okay. I unfortunately is an entrepreneur that and it verifies every fear you had as a kid. Don't go in the basement after midnight.
And it was a very nice basement that was
fantastic.
finished. It
Okay,
wasn't like
so
it was
you're in the
basement.
basement. And what?
Yeah. So I'm in the basement, and I never saw it directly, but I always saw a gentleman. I knew it was a guy, a male, off to my left, off to my peripheral every night. Never without fail, never between the hours of noon and midnight. But when it got past midnight, for some reason, it was always kind of walking past like it was getting a cup of coffee and then leaving. It was really, really strange.
Walter liked you.
And it's after a while, it didn't bug me anymore.
That's bizarre to me.
But
You just
who
get
was
used
it?
to it?
Do you think maybe it was his energy? Maybe that was his
I don't know.
routine. And I think your energy imprint continues on your routine.
I could not tell you, Tab. I could not tell you. I would like Lizzie to tell you that this was a 3-bedroom house that used to be a 4-bedroom house. I want you to tell the story about that house, that bedroom at the top of the stairs.
Okay.
the hell?
When we
There's a
moved in,
bedroom.
it literally looked like Elvis Presley's house because it was like very 1970s
Yes.
shag carpet, all of that.
What before you go for any further, what year was the homicide? People are asking on the comment
83.
line.
83.
Okay.
Yeah, 83. And then I think he wasn't found. And when I told you earlier
For a
about the
couple
body,
years.
to like 89,
Okay.
something like that. So I get the book, and the lady, I went to buy the book at the library, and the author looked at me, and I showed her my driver's license, and then she looked at me and she had like fear on her face. And so that right away, and she said she had to move out of St. Charles County for a while because she was getting threatened because she knew who did all of this. And so I'm reading the book, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and the book starts talking about some things that happened in an upstairs bedroom. And number one, it was just simply that the guy that did the murdering moved in that bedroom like immediately. And when you read the book, it talks about this specific bedroom. And so then I don't know that that's because it was haunted. It just freaked me out every time I thought about what was going on in that room was not good at all. So I said to my husband, I said, we need to get the hell out of here because I'm scared to death.
Was that the final straw?
That was towards the beginning, actually.
Oh my God.
That was at the beginning. And I only had,
Help us.
we only had 2 kids at the time. We have 5 now. And one was 6 months old and one was 4. And one of my kids was up in that room. And at that point, I was just so upset about it. And I said, we're either putting for sale sign in this yard. And my husband loved the lake and all of that. And so I said, unless you can get rid of that bedroom. And I didn't think he'd get rid of the bedroom. I came home the next day from work and the bedroom was gone. So it was your typical 1970s house where it was the living room, dining room, 4 bedrooms up there. No way was there a floor to ceiling loft. Well, there is now.
Yes.
Literally he and his dad took it out and there's just like a little bitty loft area.
Yeah,
So
I would have
it's
did it with
gone.
haste.
Awesome. But
Yeah.
the worst part of it is they put in the Amityville horror.
Yeah,
window.
that was my husband.
Oh my.
And he's so right. After he did it, It's like it used to have like 3 nice
Man.
windows, and then I was
Tabitha,
like,
I
oh,
may
I
be
want
with
this half
you.
round. It looked like Amityville Horror. It did.
I-
Tell
I-
them about what
I'm going to
happened in the
pray right after the
windows.
Yeah.
show.
It was, huh?
I'm going to pray right after the
Yeah,
show.
we all need to go
No,
to
you don't
church.
need to go pray. It's
Buy some sage.
Just-
so Walter's probably still in this home, right?
Yeah,
he loved the house.
He did, apparently. Yeah.
Basically he was the first one to build this house in the subdivision. It was beautiful. It was really a nice little, it was like she said, it was like a little Graceland here in St. Peter's.
Mhm.
And I can't imagine. Now that's the one thing I always freak out about, because I'm into the afterlife, because for whatever reason. Why do you stay in one certain, you literally have the power of the universe,
to go anywhere.
but you're gonna
Maybe you do,
But there's
we
different-
don't
but
know.
you're gonna
And
stay
there's different
in
spirits
a
and energy.
house.
Paul on the comment line earlier said that's called a residual haunting. And I think and Paul, you can correct me because I really don't know. I'm just guessing that means the energy imprint. So maybe he was walking in his normal life. Maybe he did go
Yeah.
and get coffee every day at this little area, and his energy imprint is still there. Paul,
In the
I don't know
basement?
if that's what that means or not.
Who gets
but-
coffee in the basement?
Well, Eric just said
Well,
he
there
was
was
getting
an
coffee in the
apartment.
basement.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I mean,
Apartment down there.
yeah. And if it wasn't him, then Eric and I had talked about maybe it was the dad, but I still think it's probably more Walter than the dad.
Yeah, I would
but-
say that the main energy came from Walter Scott, or
Yeah.
you know what? So the whole thing is that let's say you invite an electrician over, and he likes your girlfriend,
That's-
and he's doing months worth of work in your basement, and all of a sudden you and your girlfriend are getting together. That's basically what happened.
yeah.
Yeah, Lizzie was telling us
Yeah.
that.
It's-
How long did you make it in the house, Eric, before you left?
I didn't leave because of that. I left because I needed a studio. I needed a big studio, and I found a house with a studio in it. It never bugged me. I got to be honest. It just never
So you
bugged
got
me.
used to all the hauntings,
Well,
or spirits or sightings, or
You get like a love-hate relationship with the house because we owned it pushing 20 years, I guess. And it was like after my husband did all this work and made it look really cool,
Yeah.
I wanted to stay. And then, you don't want to be a quitter.
Did
so
you talk
like
to him?
just hung on it.
No.
No, I never talked to him.
no stockings for Christmas or anything.
No.
He wasn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
everybody that would come over go, man, Walter's digging your being here. You're playing Les Pauls and you got your basses out and drummers are coming over. And he goes, what's not to like about having you here? And I go,
Right.
yeah, you're kind of right. In a
True.
weird way.
Does anybody know who currently lives there?
I don't
I do.
know. You do?
I
Okay.
sold it to the next door neighbor.
Oh, that's right. You
Mm.
did say that.
But they knew everything that was going on.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. But they have a family and they basically bought a compound. So now they own 2 houses right next door to each other, which is cool.
Yeah,
That's
that is
cool.
cool.
That's
The
how you,
lake and
that's
all
how you
that's
do
really
it.
cool.
Yeah.
Paul
Yeah.
on the comment line said that you can go back to HBO, had a series back in the 90s called Autopsy, and they did an episode on this story.
Yeah, they did it all over the place.
They did all like HBO and
Yeah.
like you said, Dateline and
That's
And the
so
chances
wild.
that you two didn't know each
I
other,
know.
you start talking last Friday night for the first time and realize that you lived in the same house. That
Isn't
is
that
also
crazy?
that's crazy
that's so
as
crazy.
well.
And we had some of the same thing with the flies. We had the flies
Yeah.
thing that
Flies
happened.
freak me out.
What the
I
hell
know
are you
there's
talking about
something
flies?
evil about flies.
What the hell's going on with flies? We're running out of time, but what about flies?
Well, the Amity Horror window you could be gone just even a weekend. Like if we would go on a weekend and we'd come home, there'd be flies all over that window.
Yeah.
And I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just thought because we made it floor to ceiling or whatever, but then he said that too.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. It's just
I had
that-
a shop back right by it just to get rid of all the flies.
yeah.
That's creepy.
And it would have been in the bedroom that all the stuff was going
Yeah.
on there. So yeah.
the stuff normally goes on in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stuff goes on
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
In Eric's house.
Mhm.
It
Wow.
was crazy. It's just in all the houses and all the lands,
Right?
could all the gin joints, and I mean
Yeah.
it's that kind of a thing. There's hundreds of thousands of houses in St. Louis. I moved back from Seattle to come here. It makes kind of sense though. We
Yeah.
both lived in the subdivision, kind
Right,
of, sort
yeah,
of, way
yeah.
back in the day. It is an attractive place to live, but who knew that we would both be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars
Yeah.
for the same joint?
For the same joint.
I love the music that
Yeah.
Scotty's playing right now too. I mean, is it fun to talk about this? Does it help? Do you think you help people? I'm glad you came in today, Lizzie.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able to talk to Eric about it, because if you talk to anybody else about it who's never had this experience, they look at you like you have 3 heads and that you're crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why we just have stopped telling the story. And that's why when he said that, my head just whips around and I couldn't believe it.
Well, you know, at our kickoff party next Thursday at Winty's at 7 p.m. Central in the St. Louis area, people are going to be asking you too about this.
I would imagine. We got some stuff.
That's fine. That's totally fine. It was a brutal story. It was a brutal story.
Yeah.
I cannot,
Yeah.
it's just, I remember seeing it when I was in Seattle. I actually remember watching that story on either, HBO or something like that. And thinking, ooh, it sucks to be the person. I actually used to think it sucks to be the person that lives in the house with the cistern where he ended
Oh
up.
gosh, yeah, and I don't know
That-
who lives
Oh
there.
my,
Because that was
that's another perspective.
that was the famous house, was the one where
Yes.
they found Walter, not
Correct.
not our house. Ours was where everything happened,
Right.
but where it ended up is
what a
that-
horrible story and
It
ending
is.
to
It's
something.
just so
I mean,
graphic when
yeah.
you really hear about, like, if you really get down to what happened to these 3 people, their murders were graphic. Eric found evidence. We found evidence. It definitely
so I
did
guess
happen.
there's no surprise there was some sort of spirits left behind
Yeah.
by at least one person.
Yeah.
I still would like
wild.
to know. So God asked Walter, where do you want to live for the rest of your life? I want to live over in Park Charles.
Right. and his music still lives on, doesn't
Oh,
it?
one more
Eric?
story. One more story.
Tell it.
One
tell
more
it.
story.
Okay.
So when I moved in, we were participating in the fruits of her labor at the pool, but in the back, and my sister comes over. True story. Chills are coming up my back right now. Of all the songs on all the YouTube playlists that my sister didn't have, the song The Cheater started. And my sister's like, what the hell
What?
is
Getting
this?
goosebumps too. Yeah.
Oh my God, you just gave me the
On-
biggest goosebumps.
On YouTube, my sister is
His song.
my sister likes Kid Rock, AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne, not 1960s Bob Cuban music.
Right. It played over the intercom once. We were having a
Oh,
group of
Lizzie,
people
real quick.
over.
Somebody says, what happened to the wife?
The wife she went to jail for 18 months for, I think it was like hindering justice is what it was. And she now has moved back to St. Charles County. Her children live in St. Charles County. They had twins. And the thing of it is that has to always be looming over her head, though, is apparently murder has no limit and she can still be tried for murder. So that's why, which we didn't even cover this, it's a story for a different day, but Eric and I both know evidence disappeared when we would turn it in. And I'm not going to say anything more than that, or mine and Eric's life will be a living hell.
I'm surprised Eric didn't say, where's Elliot Davis?
So
Where
you
is
found
Elliot
evidence.
Davis?
Elliot
Scary.
Davis.
It was too scary back in the day to call
Holy
Elliot
moly.
Davis.
Yeah,
So
I
Not
get
because
it.
of that, because what would happen to you?
So
Okay,
someone
I get it.
is intentionally not prosecuting the
Correct.
case.
It's
Okay.
intentional. It's
Wow.
intentional.
I did find the axe handle.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, I remember
Oh
you
my
talking
God.
about
I
that.
found the axe that apparently the guy used to kill his wife in the back of it wasn't
The
a bowling
husband?
ball. It wasn't a bowling ball. It was something else. I found it, gave it to the St. Charles.
3
Police
murders all around this.
Yes.
And hauntings go. We'll continue to talk more about Paranormal Fridays when we come in.
Department. Crazy.
Lizzie, by the way, if you didn't know, is our director of marketing promotions. Lizzie, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thanks for the awesome job you're doing promoting us. The response throughout the country, the state, the local community has been fantastic. We got some of those numbers last night from our marketing team, and
That was great.
and
Yeah.
we thank you for promoting the hell out of us because we think we have something good going on here. So thanks for
Yeah.
being part of the team.
The Magnificent Trio is back.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we introduce you to GS3. Good friend of mine from Michigan. He's down at Mar-a-Lago. He was at the Lincoln dinner last night with President Trump. Carrie Lake, he was taking pictures with. You know, she ran for governor in Arizona. A lot of controversy regarding the outcome of that election. He's going to give us an update of what happened last night, what Trump was talking about. You won't want to miss the energy.
I can't
of
wait.
GS3 coming up right after this break. We'll take a few minute break. We'll come right back. Don't go anywhere. Share the show. CancelThisShow.com. CancelThisShow.com. If you didn't get a chance to come into the interview until late, we're a podcast. We save it. It goes right to our content. You go back and listen to more about what Lizzie and Eric were talking about regarding Walter. Back with more right after this. Let's cancel this. check out all of our viewing platforms right there. You go to canceltheshow.com. You just click on where to stream, and then you can jump in wherever you want. Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. And then, of course, we edit these down, get them to our audio podcast as well. Appreciate you guys being here. And, of course, we had a terrific first hour. We went over some national headlines, some world headlines. And, of course, we just talked about Walter.
I got to tell you guys.
What was Walter's last name?
Scott. Was that his real last name, Scott? What was his real last name? No ties.
A haunted house that both Lizzie and Eric both lived in at different times. And
Yeah.
of course, they were sharing their experiences. Part of the segment that we do on Fridays with Paranormal Free for All Friday.
And I got to tell you guys, and this is no joke, and I hope you guys don't take this as me blowing smoke up your asses. You guys do an amazing job in the morning. I love listening to the two of you, especially you, Tabitha.
Well, thank you,
You are super
Eric.
passionate, and you're super dead on a lot of the time on your analysis of what he brings up. So
I appreciate that.
This is Eric's
Good job.
play again to come in at 8 o'clock and
I
not be
know
here
it
at
is.
7.
This-
I know exactly what
This
it
is
is.
I
the
can
7
come in here
o'clock
from-
hour for
Come on,
Tabitha.
man. It's
He's like,
just-
I love you guys talking so much that means I don't have to come in.
that's not exactly what it means.
Eric, by the way, I was at a party last night in the St. Louis area for about 2,000 people were at.
Yeah.
I recognized
And
the
you're a
lead,
high roller. Go ahead.
I recognized the lead singer of the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was there last night. And also, I turned left, I turned right. I wasn't even there that long. Everybody's talking about cancel this.
What?
Excited.
Shut up.
Love Eric. Love Tabitha. Love Eric. Love Tabitha.
No.
Love Eric.
Yeah.
Love Tabitha.
Us,
Love Tabitha
us
more.
plebeian serfs, we sit at home and watch MASH episodes while you're out partying with St. Louis.
Yeah.
Good job. Thanks for remembering to say, hey, yeah, these idiots are at home.
Hey, one of our friends of the show, we're welcoming in GS3 this morning. A good friend of mine from the Detroit area. He was having a great time last night. He was at the Lincoln dinner at Mar-a-Lago. We bring in GS3 this morning. GS3, my man, I'm telling you this right now. You were partying it up last night with the president, with Carrie Lake. Well,
Nice.
hey, welcome in to Cancel This. And I need to let people know right now. This whole thing started with two people. This Cancel This. Eric's like, Vic, we could do a big old deal with
Yeah.
podcasting,
Yeah.
affiliate marketing. And then after my situation with Fox 2 went down, George was one of the first people to contact me. He's like, F this, Vic. You are attacking this. You are attacking that. I got your back. People need to know the full story about everything in life. You guys need to do this. I'm bucking the trend. You guys need to as well. So, George, I thank you as a friend, as somebody who had my back from the get-go, and I welcome you into this morning. What do you think of the show so far?
Oh, just loving it. I love you guys, Tabitha, Eric. You guys are doing an amazing job. It's just great to see shows like this popping up all over the country, just going against the grain of the, liberal left media, and just really telling the truth and spreading the word out there, so.
Hey, George, how much sleep did you get last night after partying at the Lincoln dinner?
Yeah, start there.
Oh my God, barely any sleep, but thank you so much for having me on the show. The Spirit of Lincoln Gala is an annual gala now 2 years in a row that Log Cabin Republicans, which is the largest LGBTQ plus organization that's been around for over 45 years. And it's just an event that we honor those in the community and allies that have really supported our causes, especially working with, the advocacy to end AIDS and getting stuff out there for that, as well as a major focus of ours next year, decriminalizing homosexuality across the globe, because, a lot of people complain about America so much and, how we're this horrible country, but people are actually getting killed for just being who they are across the world. So, having Ambassador Rick Grinnell really highlight that, along with outspoken Chadwick Moore, who's on Fox. You can catch him on Gutfeld quite a few times. And just people like that really spreading the word that, America really is one of the greatest countries in the world where you can be your authentic self. So
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm so jealous of both you and Vic. You got to party hard last night. You definitely partied a lot harder than Vic did. But
Yes, he did.
My thing is how we talk about it on this show about how the younger culture, how LGBTQ has absolutely attached itself to the Democratic Party. It sounds like, but they won't spout off against the regimes of other countries who are literally throwing gay men and gay women are getting stoned and this, that, and the other. It's like they're using it as a political weapon. Whereas last night you're with people, they're like, no, you can't be hypocritical. LGBTQ. I don't know of any Republican that sees anything about LGBTQ as bad. How does the younger generation start to attach its vision of that to the Republicans and not the Democrats?
Absolutely. Well, last night really just says it all. I mean, we had over 500 people at Mar-a-Lago. Speaking of Mar-a-Lago, the President of the United States was there, gave an amazing 20-minute speech to
Well, the
all of
former
us.
president, unless you didn't believe the election.
Yeah. Yes,
Oh, we're showing
exactly.
pictures, George, right now that
Oh,
you sent
nice.
us.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. He gave an amazing 20-minute speech. And he was one of the best presidents to really advocate for LGBTQ plus, the alphabet mafia, whatever they want to call us now,
Yeah.
to advocate for us in Congress and really welcome, roll out the red carpet, for the Republican Party, because being gay and being who yourself and who you are is really a non-issue nowadays. It really isn't. But the left is just holding on to this dying, sentiment that they own us, the Gay Left Incorporated. And it's really, it's really telling because, organizations like GLAAD and that really fought for gay rights and achieved it. I mean, clearly we have gay marriage. There's Tammy Bruce.
Yeah.
She is on Fox. She's an amazing speaker in person, really gave an amazing, authentic speech about, what it is to be, yourself in America. Because realistically, the left wants you to think a certain way.
Carrie Lake. We're showing a picture of Carrie Lake. I love Carrie Lake.
Carrie Lake was amazing. A lot of my friends were helping her out in her campaign. Justin Borman, Nick Mead, a lot of folks were there at the event who really helped her. The real governor of Arizona, guys, because we all know, Maricopa County doesn't know what they're doing, clearly how to count a ballot. So,
yeah, no, that's very shady stuff going on down there in Arizona. So again, we kind of get back to, it's important. What you did last night is important because you're right. I've never seen a conflict of interest with Republicans on LGBTQ. I personally have never seen it. But what do tactically? What do the Republicans have to do to win your votes back on a mass scale?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's really a non-issue, and the sooner that Republicans can really come together and get on the same page that it's a non-issue. I mean, we have the same rights. They passed this historic bill recently for the Respect for Marriage Act, and it just really solidifies that we're here. This is what we're doing, and really is telling that, more and more Republicans are jumping on board. Not as many as we'd like, but you know what? We got to start somewhere. And I think that trend will continue as we go on.
George, I am so glad you're here to join us this morning and talking to us about this amazing Lincoln dinner last night. I'm curious, did President Trump speak at all on the 2024 election or on his big announcement about his preservation policy for the First Amendment?
He didn't really talk a lot about his election rerun in 2024. He was more focused on, the cause and just kind of, happy to be there supporting us. And it's just like, it's a whirlwind. It's just an honor to even be able to come down here and, connect with everybody again and to see him live in person. So it's
and you're
surreal.
Still there, right?
I'm still here. I'm still in West Palm Beach. And actually, I have a funny story for you guys. So we were told to come a little bit earlier because there was some rain potentially coming in. And just as we were about to go down into the ballroom, Secret Service stopped us. And we actually got a glimpse of Ambassador Rick Grinnell and the president chatting literally like 10 feet in front of us. So it was just like it was such a surreal experience. My vice president, Lauren Alexiak, and myself, we're both log cabin Republicans back up in Metro Detroit, where, folks like ourselves can join an organization and have a voice, conservative, gay, lesbian, whatever you want to call yourselves, to really just have that network and support system. So,
George, I'm curious. You brought up the fact that, you'd like more votes from the LGBTQ community. Do you get ripped? Do you feel like you get canceled by other people in the community for being so outspoken and being conservative?
That's such a great question. And absolutely, the left and people on the left, especially in the gay community, once you say you are conservative or have an inkling of conservative values in you. I mean, last night we had a priest pray over the meal. I mean, it was an amazing, turnout and event with, conservative values and people. But yeah, absolutely. I get canceled all the time, all the time with folks who just don't agree. I mean, it's really sad. It's really telling on their side, because on our side, we accept everybody. I have very close liberal friends. But, yeah, it's definitely a challenging environment in America where, when two parties can't even talk or have a discussion, there really is no, way to move forward. It's really sad, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally see that, man. Can you explain the event last night? I'm fascinated with you get there, you're at Mar-a-Lago. What is Mar-a-Lago even like?
That's a great question.
I mean, I've wondered that. It's like, did they show you where the documents were stored? Anything cool like
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
George found where the vodka was stored.
Where the UFO information is, whatever. Just kind of take us from the beginning of the walking through the gates of that place.
Yeah, so another funny story. So when I landed here in West Palm, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna live large. I'm gonna do an Uber Black, baller. No. And this guy, great guy, his name is Naj. He has a limo service, so he gave me his card, so he's been driving us around all the time. Anyway, long story short, we get up to Mar-a-Lago. It's beautiful. It's everything and more. They're telling the Uber cars or, black cars to go a certain way. And he just drove us right to the front. And it was hilarious, actually.
That's right.
Awesome.
That's how you do
Yeah.
it.
And I'm in the car with Lauren, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't think we're supposed to be driving up here. Yeah.
Next thing you're in handcuffs.
Yeah. And the valet people are like, oh, we can park your car. He's like, oh, no, I'm the driver. And they're like, oh, okay. So
yeah.
But you walk through the gates, the pearly gates, and literally everything in there is just gold. Just wall to ceiling gold. Everything is gold. Gold rugs. Melania decorated all the trees, we think. Who knows? But
it sounds like Melania.
Yeah. And then we walk in. There's it's the view of the pool and stuff. We're walking down the hall, and that's when I ran into Rick, and then the Secret Service stopped us. We're like, oh shit, Lauren, what did you bring in? No. So it was great. It was a great time.
Was it intense? Was Secret Service pretty intense, or was it pretty laid back?
From what I hear, last year it was a little more laxed than this year. So I think there was more of a heightened security. But I don't know. It didn't seem too crazy to me, but we couldn't really wander around, which is understandable. But yeah. So
did you make your way to Camelot afterwards, or do you know what Camelot is?
No, I don't
know what that is.
Yeah, actually, what is that?
if you go, I spent a lot of time in West Palm and in Palm Beach Island. There's a place there called Camelot, and that's where everyone goes.
George, don't worry.
You're going to go to Camelot if you're at Mar-a-Lago.
She only goes to dive bars with jukeboxes.
Oh, no.
I know. Exactly.
This place, it's like $100 entry fee. It's definitely
this is $1 million entry fee.
Well,
I'm going to come down there with you next time, George, and show you where all the places
are.
George,
well, I will tell you guys, Donald Trump did have dinner there on property in the dining room, and actually later in the evening we ran into Matt Gaetz as well. Probably
interesting.
But yeah, so there was a lot of people out, so it was nice.
So did you get a chance
I-
to talk to these guys and say, what are you going to do for us if you get reelected? I mean, was there any of that? Was there any
Trump had people all around him.
I
Those
know.
pictures that he showed.
I know, but
us.
he's talking to Matt Gates and
Carrie Lake.
and
Carrie Lake has been.
Carrie Lake is in
Carrie
there.
Lake could be a VP candidate.
I mean, that is like the varsity squad that hangs out down there. It is really. And if there's one takeaway, there's this thing that's coming up, and you get to get involved with it in a few months. Is you got to choose between a DeSantis and a Trump.
I was just going to ask.
Go ahead.
Where
finish
DeSantis
it.
falls
Yeah.
with what he is looking for.
Yes.
George.
Yeah, I think, I'm definitely a diehard Trump supporter. So, I'm definitely rooting for him and would love to have him have the nomination. I mean, he's proven, that he can do the job, and we have a long track record of, accomplishments that he's done. Getting rid of the Iran nuclear deal. So I would definitely consider a Trump DeSantis run, or a Carrie Lake, or Trump Carrie Lake, any of those combinations.
Well,
Yeah.
Trump and DeSantis
I
can't
didn't
run
even
together.
think about that.
So hopefully we won't have to choose between the two.
No, they will tear each other up. I'm going to tell you this, George. If there's going to be a Donald Trump victory, it's not going to be from a bunch of blue collar old dudes from the Midwest. It's going to be from your generation. So you're going to you are on the fight. You are on the front line right now to get your generation and everybody that fired up to vote for this president.
Well, that's why I, started the Log Cabin chapter in Michigan. They had exponential growth the last 2 years for Log Cabin, and really touching, younger generation of people to really get out and make a change. And, I was just seeing how the country was going and how the world was changing so rapidly. And that was my call to do something. So.
Well, no, I mean, George, first of all, I respect you for, being who you are. You had to come out and talk about who you were as a person.
The second coming out.
And then you got the second coming out. You already saw where I was going with that. The second coming out as being conservative. And that's not easy for anybody, because as we know, there's certain groups where, if you're this group or if you're that group, you have to vote this way. So I respect you even more for that. The question I have for you is regarding, what do you think of the younger generation right now? I know not everybody was voting in the midterms, but when an age group of 18 to 29, 18 to 30 votes every state blue in the midterm, I mean, I think that says a lot.
My theory on it is that with these, TikToks and the algorithms on Instagram and things like that, I honestly believe social media companies are really manipulating the younger generation. I absolutely believe that. We're seeing it now with, the Twitter files, how things have been shadow banned. We knew it was happening. When Instagram, shadow bans, our accounts, like one day it's like 90 views, and then the next day it's like 1. Obviously there's some funny business going on. And I really feel that that social media has really played an impact on the younger generations, unfortunately. And to counteract that, I feel like we do have to go out like we're doing now on social media as best we can to really fight back. But it really is big tech, collusion with the left, I think. So.
And schools, the indoctrination camp of liberal colleges, which is 95% of colleges these days.
Yeah, and coming up at 9:00, we're going to talk with my former professor at MIZZOU, who says he was canceled because he was trying to do a dissertation on the success of Rush Limbaugh in radio.
Yeah, and there's going to have to come a day, and it's not going to be my generation, but his generation, that there's going to have, you remember the separation of church and state. Remember all those laws is keep them separate. There's going to have to be an amendment or a law or something that's separation of big tech and state. And that's just the way. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. It's like we don't touch technology because it's against the law.
That's what Trump, if Trump says, if he's elected in 2024, that is going to be one of the things he's going to tackle.
Wow. Okay.
And that came out, that was yesterday, right? What he had talked about yesterday.
It's part of his initiative to protect free speech.
That makes sense to me.
Hey, George, before we let you go this morning, by the way, the hair is kicking. I don't know how you made the hair look so good after a long night. Did you put
Honestly, you guys, I did not comb hair this morning. This was from yesterday.
You didn't put any product in that?
That's good genes.
Damn, that's working. That's young hair.
You got Vic Faust genes.
No, that's young hair. Those jeans are working.
George, we expect you to take us with you next time.
Yes, you got. Oh my gosh, you guys have to come. I want you guys to be my guests at my table next year. You got to buy tickets with me. So
Done.
Absolutely.
Oh, there we
Done.
go. We take the show on the road.
yes,
Done.
yes,
We
please.
can do that. That'd be damn fun.
But
to
he's
do.
right.
Here's
Done.
your invitation, guys, for next year for this time. So
All right. We got somebody's got to wake Eric up, but
Yeah.
We got a couple jets in the garage over here. We can make it down there.
we
pretty quick.
broadcast. Yeah. We broadcast from Strategic Air Services here, George. So we're in a luxury airport hangar with jets all around us. So
Yeah, it is
maybe
true.
that would work.
It
Hey,
is true.
before we let you go, anything else you want to leave our listeners and viewers with this morning? Not that we have to put you on the spot. Just want to make sure that we've talked about everything and give you that final word.
For sure. Well, Tabitha brought up a great point. Trump did mention the initiative, I believe, a little bit yesterday to, or alluded, to big tech being a huge problem, which we all know about. But yeah, I just want to get the word out there. Log Cabin Republicans is a great organization to join. We have over 80 chapters in just about every state in the country, for allies, for LGBT, alphabet mafia, whatever you're calling yourself. And it's really a great place to network and be your authentic self. So
Nice.
anybody listening, definitely check us out. So
Cool.
logdetroit.org for Michigan chapter.
Nice.
And we thank you, George. George was promoting this show. Cancel this before we even hit the airwaves. And he continues to. George, I owe you. I appreciate it. You're a great friend. And we wish you the best. Have an awesome day in Florida, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Take
Thank
care.
All
you.
right. See you later.
Appreciate
GS3 in the house on Cancel This for the
Hey,
first time.
George, stop by 123 Datora and tell them I sent you there. You'll find lots of fun folks there.
Sounds good. I will. Thanks.
It's gonna be a dive, so
See
get
you,
your,
George.
get
No,
your
it's not. It's a great
tetanus
place.
shot.
We got for the jukebox.
Yeah, don't scrape your hip on the wall. It'll give you tetanus.
I love Palm Beach. I have spent a lot of time there. There's so many different places there. I've been to some of these places so many times. I know the owners.
I can't
I love
wait.
it.
Remember, I think that the presidential museum or library, when Trump makes that should be it. I really do. That would be a great destination. It's like when you go to Truman's house out in Kansas, just outside of Kansas City. It's fascinating. That's what is fascinating to me is the history.
Yeah,
that
but you and I are
surrounds it.
history guys. We
Yeah.
like history. I don't know if a lot of younger people love history.
I mean, if I went to Obama's library, I would be like,
I'd like
so
it-
what? It's a concrete whatever. This sucks. It's like when you go to Elvis's house, you think of all the history and the thought that went in that house. I hope they make Mar-a-Lago the presidential library for Trump. I said,
Oh,
Well, that would be
That'd
it
be
would be very
interesting.
interesting.
that'd be an interesting choice, and he's an interesting man.
I
And
said
it's
it.
so neat when
It's
you
out there.
drive past Mar-a-Lago. The gates are there. You'll see the Secret Service out there.
Yeah.
But what's wild is people have snuck in to Mar-a-Lago.
they did. Well, it makes sense. Isn't there a beach in the backyard? How do you keep that place safe? I have no idea, but they do.
Well,
do a
good job.
a couple of Chinese folks snuck in. One came right through
wait
the
a minute.
gate and had.
So did we.
You what? You
me
snuck in Mar-a-Lago?
myself and the guy that's usually right over there, Chris Knight.
Well, I remember when you guys talked about going to
as a matter of fact, I
Mar-a-Lago.
have pictures to prove this.
But you didn't
Vic.
sneak
I-
in.
Oh,
did
I
you?
know.
No,
I've
we
seen the
snuck in.
pictures.
You guys, look,
They
It's
snuck.
not. It's
they
crazy
snuck
that
in.
it's not that scared. hard
we
to
were
sneak in.
doing. We were at an event for Trump, 2000 the year before he was running, and we were down there at the what was it? It's the old Kiel Opera House. What is it now? Whatever it is now. Stifle. Yeah, and we went.
Stiefel.
We went in there and we were just meandering around. We're literally in the seats going, oh, Trump's going to come out here and bloviate for 2 hours. And he did. He did a great job. And all of a sudden, I look to my left and Chris is gone. I'm going, oh
I
my
know
God,
this-
where
I know
the
this
hell
story.
did he go?
It's a great
And I thought he
story.
was just going to meander up to the front just to shake his hand. This is how lax that security was back then. And I don't know if it is the same, but he basically walked right backstage, took a right, and ended up right next to Trump with a picture.
He
And,
got a picture.
and apparently Trump said, oh man, what jump on the plane to the next venue. And I think it was over in Illinois somewhere. And Trump, I thought You literally went to Madame Tussauds Wax Museum and got a picture with the Donald Trump. No, it was him and Trump just sitting there.
I love it. That's great.
And it's one of Chris's claims to fame. I mean, he popped that picture out. I've seen it. It's a great
Yeah.
pic. So you can, as we talk about in the show too, show up if you're supposed to be there, whether you're not supposed to be there. If you act like it, chances are, I've done it in TV.
I've done it at rock concerts. I have literally, and I know you have. It is the biggest secret known to man. If you act like you're supposed to be at a major rock
oh
concert,
yeah.
you can go. You don't need a badge. You don't need a pass. You just go, "What's up, man?" And you walk right past them. Is that the truth? You just go to the backstage door, and you just go wherever the hell you. Eventually, someone will go, "Are you supposed to be back here in Steven Tyler's dressing room?" Not really.
You know what? I did this. I guess it's a confession Friday too. Game 6, Stanley Cup Finals. The Blues,
Yes.
Boston Bruins.
Yes.
I had one ticket
Mhm.
for my good friend John Bomarito.
Yep.
Because we had just done a bunch of work with them. So I gave it to my girlfriend at the time. And then I walked right through the security gate.
Yep.
Where I just they knew me.
Yeah.
They put it, I walked right in, checked my bag, walked right up to the Bomarito Automotive Group booth, and got to watch the Blues get hammered. But I got to go into that game for free. Tickets, by the way, were about $1,500.
Oh, but
I was a media member, right?
Yeah,
so
but
it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, but-
I walked in like I was supposed to be there without a pass.
But you
So I walked right in.
You're unusual in this room because you get to go. Do you know who I am?
I did.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, but I don't say that anymore. I used to say that all the time.
Well, you're
everywhere.
a bigger deal now.
Do you know who I am?
Elliot Davis, he's a chump. Mike Bush, he's beneath my feet.
Who's that? Yeah, I think he asked for an autograph recently.
Did he really?
Yeah, something like that.
Like you're exchanging jerseys.
Yeah, as Robert says, Vic on assignment. Just walk right in and walk through. And the feeling I had when I walked right through, because I was there 10 hours a day helping, working. I was like, you know what? This is right. I feel like it's right.
It is right.
And then I was excited
How
as hell.
dare you charge me for a ticket? But you did do it at the Blues game when we went. Do you remember?
I did that too.
You parked your damn car in the media parking lot or whatever the hell that was down there. You got to walk right in, as I had to walk all the way down from Union Station.
Well, I don't have that anymore.
Well, you can get a new media
Or
pass.
do you?
I cancel this
Yeah,
media
yeah.
pass.
They'll love us in this city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they do. Maybe they do.
Maybe they're like our saviors in St. Charles or in Chesterfield are coming to save us. That's a way to look at it. Is maybe St. Louis is looking at us like there's a show coming to help us.
Hey,
Oh my gosh.
It's in Chesterfield right now.
I ran into Nicole Jenkins last night. Loves the show. Remember Nicole, our first week on the show? We had Nicole come in the studio.
Yeah.
She says there is now yesterday, Jeff Rorda, the former business manager. Now we're a national show, but we're based out of St. Louis. So we have a lot of St. Louis stories as well. Yesterday, Jeff Rorda, the former business manager of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, told us he didn't think a state takeover would be possible.
I think it's going to happen.
He said that state senators would filibuster, not allowing it to happen.
Yes.
Nicole and a couple other politicians last night, and the Ethical Society of Police, who represents the African American police, think it is.
I think
They think they're going to push it through. And I'm like, yeah, but I know some of those state senators who are against it, and I know they'll filibuster. What Jeff Rorder said. But it was interesting because when you get out, you hear some of the stories and you talk to some of the players. And that was the big takeaway last night from that.
So. It would be nice to call up Wilmington, Delaware. Isn't that where he's coming from? The new police chief?
Yes.
Yes.
It would be nice to just call up some residents. Can we do that? And just say, how's your policing gone?
None of that matters because they had a different mayor. Now he's here.
This is called
St.
Positive
Louis
Friday.
turf.
It's
No,
called
it is,
Positive
it
Friday.
is. But anyway, I was just bringing up that from the positive standpoint for people who want a state takeover, even if the governor doesn't have a big appetite for it right now, it could be happening.
I
We'll
am
have to wait and
against
see.
it 100%.
Are you?
Yes.
Why?
Because the city has the funds. They can take care of it themselves. They choose not
Ooh,
to.
that's a good point.
So me as
Yeah.
a Missouri taxpayer, why should I have to? I don't live in St. Louis City. Why should I have to pay for it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. You're right. It's like you have the funds. You're just going to go make social justice
But yeah,
libraries
instead
or
of
whatever it is.
giving the money to police where
Yeah.
it belongs,
Mhm.
instead of hiring more police, hiring more dispatchers, they're giving out $500 a month to various citizens. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I it's like we're talking about something that's very interesting. We do need to get somebody on to see how the state of Missouri can take over that dilapidated mess that's in St. Louis.
It's all legal.
Yeah. So where were you at last night?
You can do that.
Where can you say where?
Yeah,
you're at?
local attorney Jim Under.
Jim Under.
He has a party every day. They
Wow.
moved it to the Ritz last night. I was only there for a little bit, not that long. It was so loud. I'm not kidding you. Every time I turn around, cancel this, cancel this, cancel this. And it's awesome because when you consider the full circle of how things go and all the support that was there and excited about what we're doing, now you're starting to see that people love it and what we're trying to do. And the word's just now getting out. The sky's the limit. All kinds of people. Like I said, we love Eric. We love Tabitha. We love Eric. We love Tabitha. So it's working. It was good to see a lot of people out
I
last
hate
night.
that I missed it. I've gone every year. I hate that I missed it. I love Jim Onder. I love his party, but I was too tired.
That is the
A long
gala.
week.
That is the gala.
If you want to go, hey, you want to go to a party with me tonight?
Where?
I got 3 parties.
Where?
Tonight. I got 3 parties.
Do they? Man, you are just a high roller. man.
I'm such a high roller.
Yeah, you are.
Tis the season.
Are
It's
you
the holiday
going on the
Christmas
are you
party.
going on the party tour to where you start at one place and end up at another place like Kevin over here?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Kevin, one of the owners of the building, said that he and Lawrence, who works in his company here, they do a terrific job with redoing interiors of
Yeah.
airplanes. They lived in Wilmington, and we've got you know what? Can we pop it? Can we pop him on right now, Scotty?
What?
We're going to get him set up. We'll get Lawrence. No, they've got word of what Wilmington is like, where our police chief from saying this is what it's like in Cancel List. You just never know who you're going to be able to pop on, because
love
coming up at 9 o'clock
I
or
love it.
9:05, we're going to be talking with Glenn Boyer, my former professor at MIZZOU, communications professor, who says he was canceled because of a dissertation he was trying to do on Rush Limbaugh and the success that Rush had.
Yeah.
So we'll do that at 9. We pop in Lawrence right now as we're getting that.
Why
all
would that
set
even
up.
be controversial?
Well, we're
he's
going to
the-
ask Glenn.
He is in a high level of broadcasting, along with maybe one other guy, and that would be Howard Stern. And he basically invented an entire industry of national and local syndicated radio. Yeah, excellent in broadcasting, EIB network. So I can't wait to talk to
legend.
this guy,
Well, we'll find out. We'll
who's
talk
by the
about
way
it.
buried here in St. Louis.
By the way, we welcome into the show too Lawrence Harding right now. Lawrence, first of all, we bring you on because you're from Wilmington, Delaware, so you spent time there, right?
Yes.
But before we get to that, what do you do here? What's your business here?
I'm the general manager for Icon Aviation Solutions, and at Icon we do interior aircraft refurbishment. So if you remember that show Pimp My Ride,
Yes.
Yeah.
it's kind of like Pimp My Ride for planes.
That is amazing.
What a
Shit, yo.
you had
Oh,
me
man.
at pimp.
That's his pickup
Now
line
we
right
ju-
there.
now
That's
we
his
just-
pickup line.
It's-
He goes to Wendy's and he takes home the whole bar.
That's it. I mean, that is totally it. You deal with a lot of high end, fast people, and they want what they want. And if that's diamond studded leather seats or wood veneer finished headliners, that's what we do. We go crazy with it.
Yeah. Now that we have you in here, I've got what's the most bizarre, wild, eccentric thing somebody has asked for in a plane? And if you can say it, feel free. But if not, that's fine. In regards to who it is,
Like
if
a
anybody
stripper
knows.
pole. There's a stripper pole in a plane somewhere.
Yeah,
isn't
sure,
there?
but
Of
it gets weirder than that. There's some vanity plays. I mean,
Yeah, that's nothing.
well, this is a little bit more tame, but
Yeah.
we had a customer, Alejandro, it was probably 16, 18 years ago, and his last name started with a B, so he literally had B's embossed in all the leather and all his seats. So you walk into this interior and all you see are B's. All you see are decorative B's and embossed
Nice.
leather. There's a
Yeah.
big B up on the tail of his aircraft. So
Yeah.
that was an interesting one for me, to be honest with you.
Is this how just the 1% lives, or is this becoming more so where average people can get together and get on a plane and go
You know-
fly to wherever they need to fly?
I think that's a good question. With some of our customers and with some of the charter companies out there, they're trying to bring it to the 2.5 or to the 5%. And honestly, with what the pandemic's done for us, how ironic, right? They're able to do that a little bit more effectively. And it's kind of like, all right, cost of operating a jet is this much. If I can fill every seat on this jet, then wow, this is actually cheaper than 8 business class tickets on commercial airlines.
Yeah, I'm learning now.
Yeah.
Kevin's been teaching me. I'm like, you get 10 people together, you get a jet at the start and the finish. It's worth it. Blew
And
my
if it's-
mind.
If it's a King Air 350i, it's not 10. It's 4 to 6 maybe.
No, you don't want no putsy little plane like that. We're talking, you want a Falcon, you want a Gulfstream. Come on,
Sure.
man.
Falcon,
sure.
Gulfstream.
Sure.
Well, hey, we brought you on because we have a new police chief in the St. Louis City area right now from Wilmington, Delaware. What should we know about Wilmington? Because we heard that crime was reduced there, and that was one of the feathers in this guy's cap and why St. Louis brought him in.
Well, if he's from Wilmington, then he's got combat experience.
Wow. Wow. Wait, that's
No.
That's what St. Louis people say
Yeah.
about their own.
Oh,
Well,
geez.
it's amazing what you get used to. So I lived at 215 North Market Street, and the safe blocks for where I lived, it was like First Street up to about 14.
Are you talking about St. Market Street in St. Louis or in Wilmington?
No, Market Street in downtown Wilmington.
Okay.
So Market Street, you could basically walk between blocks 1 and 14, and you could go 1 or 2 streets to the right, 1 or two streets to the left,
Okay.
walking.
Okay.
But that's it. That's all you would do.
That is scary.
Sounds
Okay.
like St. Louis.
So it's
Okay.
like St. Louis's market.
A little
That's
bit.
so true. So, all
Little
right.
bit.
So this guy comes in. I don't know if you've been following him at all. This guy comes in. Did you notice any relief in the crime? Were you like, this guy means business? Or was he kind of like, where the hell did the chief go?
In fairness, no, I didn't while I was living there. Towards the end of my tenure living in Wilmington, there literally were murders within about 100 feet of my front door.
Jeez.
There was
No.
while we lived there, there was a raid or a shooting at the federal courthouse, which was 4 blocks away, and they shut it all down. So, like I said, it's amazing what you get used to. I talk about it kind of normally right now, and it kind of felt that way living there from a distance. I think there are pockets of space in all major metropolitan areas, St. Louis included. I think St. Louis is just a little bit bigger.
To me, this seems like a new phenomenon. I'm sorry. To me, St. Louis, I don't remember St. Louis being this dangerous back when I was growing up. It seems like this is a new phenomenon. You just said,
Yeah, of course.
you
it
literally
is.
didn't even flinch. You go, yeah, someone was shot 100 feet from my house. You didn't even flinch. You're like, I'm so used to it now. It's like murder hornets, kind of. Yeah, if you just kind of swat them away,
Oh my God.
you'll be
I-
fine.
Eric's on a roll.
I've taken trips to HPW rigging. I've been, in the vicinity of San Francisco Avenue downtown, Ferguson. Yeah, sure. During the day, it's okay, but even during the
There you
day,
go. Yeah.
during the day, you appreciate the 13-foot tall razor wire fence.
So are you from Wilmington too, or
Not originally. So I'm from Michigan. My dad.
Oh, there you go.
My dad was an executive for General Motors, so he took a plant manager job in Delaware when I was 9. We lived there till 15, then we moved to Switzerland, came back to Delaware for college. So I've kind of bebopped all over the place a little bit.
you get involved in politics at all?
I went to school for politics.
Oh,
Wow.
political science.
I went to school international relations. Then
Mhm.
I had a thing for French because I lived in Switzerland, so I did French studies,
Yeah.
language and literature, and that was how I got my foot in the door with Dassault, believe it or not, French
Yeah.
aviation company.
Yeah.
So to answer the political question, my brother was killed in action in 2015. My sister and I were very alike with what we did in school. She kind of pursued politics with a passion, and I kind of stepped back and leaned on the international business component of my degrees.
I can't gloss over. Killed in action.
Iraq,
In Iraq.
2005. Yep.
And
That's
how was that?
that's
Yeah,
horrible.
you deal with something like that in the family, of course, when somebody pays the ultimate price.
Well, my brother he was a black horse. Kevin will remember this. We were down in Nashville, and there were a bunch of bikers at the bar, and they were all black horses. So they found out my brother was a black horse, and talk about brotherhood.
Explain a black horse for people who may not understand.
Traditionally, historically, armed cavalry. right? So
Yeah.
Black Horse is kind of a specialized battalion within the Rangers. But yeah, I mean, in the moment, I think my parents never, I don't think any parent that loses a child is gonna recover from something like that. For a brother like myself, my brother Will, my sister, it's more like we still look up to him, right? I remember this guy, Victor Sriracha Martinez, who flew Falcon 5177 aerobics. After my brother passed, he would say, you'll continue talking to the dead, right? Kind of think of Day del Muerto down in Mexico City, down in Mexico, right?
This is our
Yeah.
Paranormal Friday as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's not something. Everybody's different, but for me, I still talk to my brother. Like, what would you do in this situation? What would you do in that situation? So you carry, his spirit and his soul with you. Really,
I just lost my brother. Eric just lost his sister,
Mhm.
and I feel the same way. I find myself talking to my brother all the time.
he's still a role model for me.
Yeah.
He's still a role model for me.
Yeah.
Hey, Lawrence, we appreciate you jumping in today to talk.
Wilmington,
And Lawrence Harding.
Wilmington.
Hey, what's the name
Yeah,
of the,
if I might buy a 172 like from 1968, can you pimp that thing out or no?
Absolutely not.
is the
Damn it!
but did you guys look up the name Pimp My Plane? That would have
Pimp
been
My
the
Plane.
best. That would have been the best business
Well,
name.
that's our next podcast idea, Vic. All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm
Pimp
in.
My
I'm
Plane.
in. Not even some LED lights like under the dash.
Okay. All right.
Nothing.
Okay.
That is so fascinating.
One Phillips bulb, two Phillips bulbs from Home
Okay,
Depot, right?
and it'll be $1 million.
They're Wi-Fi. You can program them.
Hey, Lawrence, we appreciate you jumping in, buddy.
Thanks for your
Thanks
time.
again so much. You never know who's going to pop through. That's what the great part is
Yeah.
about having our
He
studio
does some
here.
tricked out stuff. I
And-
got to see it the other day.
You did?
Yeah, in the 900. Yeah.
Well, you get the bet. You talk about
No,
me.
no,
You
no.
get all
I'm,
the
I'm
backstage
like I go in the
passes.
service entry. That's what I do. I go in the service entry and I just kind of meander around where everybody else goes.
Oh,
Yeah, I got a chance to see some of his embroidery work. It's amazing.
I'm going to go back and check
Yeah.
some of that badass stuff out.
Yeah.
And no joke, when it comes to planes and flying, commercial, we know it. There's times where it can suck. It can be great, but it can suck. Look in to get. You can get planes if you're going to go on a trip.
Yeah.
You have people and you combine resources.
Mhm.
It
You
can be
can.
about equal, and
Yeah.
the experience is so
Yes.
much better. I've
Yeah,
done it a few
you can.
times.
People don't even know. They don't even know it's a possibility. So we have to continue.
I mean, it's
explaining
not.
that to
It's
people.
not cheap. It's not like finding the red eye special from St. Louis to Kansas
Well, it's
City
not like flying
on
Spirit.
Southwest Airlines.
Yeah,
But it's definitely something. I mean, one of our buddies here, he does it all the time. I mean, Chris.
yeah. And you're
loves-
not standing in long lines and checking baggage either.
Yeah.
I mean, there are
Yeah.
some definite advantages.
Once you
for it.
do that in life, you can't go back.
I know.
Sorry.
I would agree with you because just being in this building, the Strategic Air Services building, it is phenomenal. The entire place is VIP. It's not like there's a VIP area. The entire place.
Yeah, look at us.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing it to
We
it
had
too.
a Pimp My Studio.
Tip my plane.
Yeah.
All right. It's been a wild Friday. That's for sure. It's a free for all Friday as we do with Cancel This. Go to cancelthisshow.com. And as always, and Lizzie's always online telling you, share the show. That's how we become bigger, do better things. Lots of things in store coming down the pipeline. And when we take this break, we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're going to want to hear this interview, especially if you love Rush Limbaugh, if you hate Rush Limbaugh, if you hate anything about cancel culture, if you're wondering about what's being taught at colleges, what's currently going on. We talked to my former professor. We're going way back in the day to talk with Glenn Boyer. He's also on the East Coast, not from Wilmington. We'll talk to Glenn about how he says he was canceled at the University of Missouri because of some dissertation work he was doing regarding Rush Limbaugh. Tabitha can't wait for this. I can't wait. If you have questions, jump in on whatever platform you're watching. Go to cancelthisshow.com. You can pick your flavor where to stream. If you know of anybody that needs to hear this, let them know. Share the show. Scotty Gherkin's on the boards with our Paranormal Friday music. I think that's what that is.
Walter Scott just walked in the studio.
Walter as a guest.
Don't look behind you.
Walter, we will not allow you to be canceled, Walter.
Don't look at any reflections.
Eric Johnson. Tabitha Hassel. I'm Vic Faust. We've also got our director of marketing and promotions, Lizzie Sparks, in-house as well. We'll be right back with more of Cancel This. Welcome back to Cancel This. I'm Vic Faust with my co-host, Tabitha Hassel and Eric Johnson. It is a Friday, December 16th. My, oh my, it's all about having fun, getting you started on your day, educating you, educating ourselves, and of course, bringing you the stories that you don't hear anywhere else. If you're new to the show today, and of course, we've been starting to get out there more, not only across the state of Missouri, but across the country. We've also got listeners in other countries. So props to you for jumping in, sharing the show as always. If you want to see some of our previous work, you can go to cancelthisshow.com, cancelthisshow.com. Also, that's where you stream. You click on where to stream, pick your flavor, whatever you want to go. YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. We appreciate everybody jumping in and seeing what we're about. We're news headlines, politics, commentary, society, and cancel culture. And cancel culture can mean a bunch of different things. Heck, we had George on earlier from the LGBTQ Republicans who says he gets canceled all the time because he says, you know, I'm a gay man, where liberals try to cancel me because I'm trying to give them a conservative voice. So George had some dinner with President Trump last night. Carrie Lake, who ran for Arizona governor. Great to have George on the show earlier. We also had Eric and Lizzie talking about the haunted house that both of them lived in. Yeah. We're still talking about Walter. If we had gifts to give yet, but we're not there yet. Robert would win quote of the day. He said that Walter wants his axe handle back.
It wasn't Walter, by the way. It was his what is it, jilted wife's lover, right? The electrician who put the electric in the house.
Look up what Walter Scott. You guys blew me away. 3 murders involved in the St. Louis area in one house.
St. Peter's.
Now there's hauntings coming about. But part of the cancel culture interviews, and the cool thing about it is we give people a voice. Let's have the conversations. All opinions are welcome. Let's talk. That's what you don't get to do in national media. You certainly don't get to do it in local media, and that's what we try to do here. So I'm excited about our next guest. We welcome into the show Glenn Boyer, one of my former professors from the University of Missouri, who has also been promoting this show before we started or as we were starting. I think he likes what we're doing. He joins us from the East Coast. Where are you joining us this morning from, Glenn?
The city of not so brotherly love.
Oh,
Philadelphia.
But Philadelphia, you guys are rocking with all those damn Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles are doing
They are damn good.
But they'll still throw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Yeah, exactly. When Glenn heard about the show, he's like, I was canceled. And I was like, what? And I thought I knew you, Glenn. Take us back to the University of Missouri. What happened? Because when people hear you get canceled, a dissertation of Rush Limbaugh, people are like, what? That doesn't make sense.
So as you guys may recall, Rush Limbaugh was quite the phenomenon in the early 90s. And in St. Louis in 1993, Charlie Brennan went on KMOX with President Clinton, and President Clinton ranted about how much power Rush Limbaugh had.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was getting ready to flesh out my dissertation topic, and I had one of those aha moments. If the president of the United States says that this broadcaster has all this power, why don't we find out? Does he? Yeah. Is he moving the masses? Is he moving the needle on voting? And that's where the genesis of the dissertation idea came from. And I started my research and had a lot of support from my committee. In a dissertation, you have your professors who make up a committee. And unfortunately, my committee imploded. The death of the chairman, heart attack of another member, lack of tenure of a third member. And so I became an orphan in the department. And the professor who kind of picked me up absolutely did not want a dissertation on Rush Limbaugh in the way I was viewing it, which was simply a study of regular listeners, how they used the show in their daily lives. What happened? Did they vote a particular way? Did he change your mind? And the preliminary research was really interesting. It really didn't do much. It was an echo chamber. He was speaking to the choir, preaching to the choir. But what the university did, or not the university, but what these professors who I ended up with did was they just ignored me and let time go on and wouldn't help me. It's a very collaborative, supposed to be very collaborative process. And over time, I just was canceled by ignoring.
Wow.
And then I ran out of time. Then they booted me. Said
That
you didn't finish.
Just because of Rush Limbaugh. What year was this?
90. It was 95. The year Vic was in my class.
Why would they have a wow? Really?
Yeah, and it makes you wonder. I mean, you still think about that? Does it still bug you at all?
Oh yeah. I mean, you think about potential earnings, you think about potential books, and my idea. Well, I'm not claiming it. I'm the only person who thought of this, but the idea eventually did get written into a dissertation from a guy at the University of Pennsylvania in about 2008.
Wow, you were ahead of your time, Glenn. But I know I can say this because I sat in class with Glenn, and the one thing Glenn did with students is he challenged you to be yourself, but be different.
Wow.
Be who you are, go out, make a memory, make sure people remember you. And Glenn, I do. I respect you for that. I still remember that. I know I was your ace student and everything, like the best student you ever had and everything.
My
But
prodigal son.
yeah.
Oh jeez. Flag the tape.
But I'm telling you, Glenn knew what he was doing. He was a great teacher, great professor.
And what's so interesting about MIZZOU is it was a Marconi school, right? It was like it was known for its broadcasting.
Well,
all over
journalism school.
Journalism school. It was a place. Not all colleges are like that. So he's basically doing a dissertation on the phenomenon, really, of this editorialized radio guy. And wasn't Rush one of the first in the country to really say, "I'm partisan here, guys. I'm going to tell you stories why you should be a conservative"? Wasn't that part of your dissertation?
Well, it wasn't so much taking a political stance. It was really just trying to find out how listeners used the show. And there was, when the president of the United States, who has the biggest platform in the world, gets on and says, this guy has too much power, 3 hours a day, why not study it? Rush Limbaugh did. I mean, love him or hate him, he saved AM radio.
No,
and he enabled what you're doing right now.
Wow, that's profound, Glenn.
It is. It's such a valid subject because Rush, like Eric said, was not only a phenomena, he changed the entire political landscape.
Yeah.
And not only that, but so many people have told me, well, Rush Limbaugh, he was ostracized and people didn't want to advertise on his show. He was worth $800 million when he died. He was a phenomena.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another story. I was a liberal. Did you know that? When I was in Seattle, Washington.
I thought you're still a liberal.
No. When I was in Seattle, I was a liberal. I considered myself a liberal because of the social
You're
thing.
Actually the Q because you're questioning.
Whatever. But I listened to Rush. I was getting tired of listening to music on radio. And I found Cairo, I think it was in Seattle, Washington, or one of those news channels. And I started listening to this guy named Rush Limbaugh. And I remember I was opening a business. This is why I became a Republican or conservative. I was sick of
the tape.
I was sick of how Seattle was taxing me.
Oh.
I was like, how can I make enough money to live as a business owner if I'm getting taxed like this? And I heard this guy named Rush Limbaugh talk about Bill Clinton at the time and how taxation on these businesses is going to kill businesses. I was like, oh my God, someone is finally speaking my language. And so every day when I would go to work, boom, listen to Rush Limbaugh, a rock musician in Seattle, Washington, literally converted from what I thought was a liberal to a conservative. So that is part of the dynamic here is this guy was able to be, he was the pitch person, right, of the conservative movement of the Republicans.
Yeah.
It made people like me want to learn about Ronald Reagan. It made people like me want to learn about.
And I'm sure that's why he did this
dissertation.
dissertation.
Exactly. Glenn was ahead of his time.
How it affects people, and it did have a huge effect.
So, Glenn, did your colleagues think you were doing it to promote it? Is that what was? Is that what the problem was?
Fear. That was the fear. My professor, who ended up being my chairman, who I said, as I said, did not want it, asked me. She said, "I'd be in favor of it if you did a women's studies perspective, whatever that means."
I was just
women's studies perspective. Okay.
A perspective from a woman's point of view. One, that would be very difficult. I'm a man. I don't know that I could speak in a voice for a woman, but it would have required about 2 more years of coursework. And after you've ground 3 years of your life in coursework and exams, and plus the teaching, the last thing you want to do is be said to is, "Oh, take some more courses. Then we'll let you do your dissertation."
Yeah.
Glenn, you're not even a hardcore Republican or weren't at that time either, were you?
No. I've always identified, I guess, as a New York Republican. That's where I was born and raised. But
Explain
but
a New
they
York
really
Republican.
it was
Because a New York Republican is now pretty right, isn't it?
well now, but Limbaugh was an interesting topic, and what really I went to bat for it, and I kept saying, "Look, this guy's a phenomenon. How can academia ignore it? You know, I'm not taking sides here. I'm going to let the surveys and the work, you know, play out as it would." But they weren't interested in that. I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm in no way, you know, Vic, that I love MIZ. It's a great institution. I support it. This was just individual people who didn't like the politically incorrect voice of Rush Limbaugh.
But it is a very
Wow.
liberal
Gosh, that's powerful,
school.
Glenn.
It is. It's so powerful.
Doesn't he
man.
have a way of putting things in perspective?
Yeah.
You don't say a lot of words, Glenn, but they're profound.
And just think if you were able to produce your doctorate on or whatever it is that you were writing at the time, we would have a archived copy of what that era was like. We would have been able to reach back and actually read this thing, probably publish, and say, look at how Rush came out of nothing, and it would have been another document we could have used to really study the phenomenon of talk radio. He wasn't only talk radio, though. He kind of transitioned over into TV also. Do you remember his TV show?
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah. Every night
Yeah.
on, I can't remember what it was. He would come out and do
He made
conservative talk
you know what he
radio on
did?
TV.
And at some point, Glenn, we'll get to merchandise. So if you have ideas to help us, we're always listening. But
Golden
I remember
microphones. We need golden microphones.
he made those hats, the GOP hats, very popular. I remember that. He always had a GOP hat on his desk in that TV show.
Yeah.
And some people tried to wear it.
Yeah.
Glenn, I had a story. We go back, you talking about me being a student. I'll never forget. I was in my first history class at the University of Missouri. I know it can happen anywhere, but there was a kid sitting in the lecture, history, about 300 person lecture. He had a GOP hat on, and the teacher called him out and said, "Take that hat off. You will fail this class if you wear that GOP hat."
Wow.
And people laughed. He was serious. And then he's like, "No, I'm serious." So the kid, out of peer pressure, was a red hat, took his hat off. And that happened back in the 90s as well, Glenn, at the University of Missouri.
Yeah, and Missouri was far from what I would call a super liberal institution. And the way I describe this is it's more insidious than it is today. Today, it's just wide open. You know, we cancel people, we ignore people, it's just out there in the public eye. Whereas back in the early 90s, we didn't have the social media to publicize this. And really, so it was more of a personal level. I never thought it was personal to me. It had nothing to do with me. It's just that the people had such a disdain. You know, he triggered people before triggering was a thing.
Isn't that the truth? And you know, Glenn, Rush was all about the people. He was all about the listeners of his program. You know, part of the reason why he was so successful is because he gave everyone a voice. And when he had guests on his show, they were never celebrities or anything like that. They were always just the people. Those were the only guests he ever had on his show.
Yeah, and he tried to, you know, he allowed, I should say, as opposed to other shows, he allowed differing points of view. But, you know, he was speaking to 95% of the people who were listening to him, loved him already and agreed with him already. So, and that's the whole point. It was the whole point of the dissertation. He wasn't moving the masses.
Do you think do you think he was the original guy that started dividing this country? I'm not. Do you think that you were either on the, because before there was Donald Trump, there was Rush Limbaugh. Okay, I kind of look at Rush as kind of a figurehead of a very defined conservative movement, and you were either on that train or you were not.
You could go back far earlier. We could go back to McCarthy and discuss that and see where the country got divided in the 1950s. And by the way, cancellation wasn't originally a liberal phenomenon against conservatives.
Great point.
If anything, it was a conservative phenomenon against liberals in Hollywood from the 1950s. Then you could go back to the 1920s of a Red Scare where we were calling out anyone we thought was communist after World War One.
Glenn, we
So-
also talked, let's go back to, I believe, was it the late 90s or 2000s when some conservatives in the country industry, the country music industry, started to cancel the then known Dixie Chicks.
Yes.
And that wasn't a liberal and conservative. That was more of a conservative on liberal.
Yeah.
This isn't a one-sided. It is today. It seems, or I shouldn't say it is. It seems that way, and that's because of the social media and big tech tilting toward one side of the discussion spectrum.
Before you go, I wanted to talk about college learning right now, something you had experience with when it comes to what many people are now seeing, Glenn, as a not wide open environment to learn, but actually one at many colleges where you get pushed in a certain direction when it comes to politics. Do you see that? And
Yeah, absolutely, Vic. You're spot on. When I was teaching you guys in the early 90s, and I went back into industry and worked for 30 years in public relations and marketing, but I did keep a pulse on academia by teaching part-time various institutions. And over time, it became harder and harder to teach from an objective point of view. If you didn't, I didn't get into this mold of a liberal professor pushing an ideology. They didn't want you. I mean, they started really, from everything from your synopsis of your course to the books you chose became very, very contentious.
wow.
So what is, you say that, let me ask you this. The young people, the Gen Zers of today, I mean, you've seen it. You come from my generation of radio and even television. You're looking at a new generation that looks at radio like we used to look at 8-track tapes. What is the future of broadcasting and influencers? And are you keeping an eye on all this digital media stuff? And what happens now that you have so many voices? Rush was one voice. Now you have millions of voices worldwide who are able to reach thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. Have you ever looked into that dynamic of?
Well, I've
Hey,
always
Glenn, before you answer, let me remind Eric that you are the future, Eric. What you're doing right now is the future.
Maybe.
Yeah, social media. And, when Rush started, he started not only a new phenomenon, but, syndicated radio had not existed. And he was just a small show on ABC in New York that because of satellite technology was able to be broadcast all over the country simultaneously. So that was the new technology at the time. We have so many new technologies now. But what I worry about more than anything else is every man a journalist, where everybody has a voice, and they start canceling each other out because the person who yells the loudest seems to get the attention. I worry that journalism has been really affected by this new breed of social media, and the fact that so many people are frankly not qualified as news reporters, and we end up getting things like fake news and such that we don't know how to decipher it. So I don't see it getting any better in the short term, and in the long term, it'll just depend on how technology plays out.
So true. Do you think that NBC, CBS, ABC, by not reporting certain things, is lying to the country? By not reporting on the Hunter Biden story, 0 minutes for Hunter Biden, but very important story. Multimedia people like that get on social media, like Tabitha Hassel, myself. We look for that information and it gets suppressed. Do you think that's considered
I think what
lying?
they're doing is their agenda setting.
Isn't that as bad as lying then?
Well, they've always done agenda setting. And I just don't think that, I'd say it's pretty insidious, but I don't think it's out and out lying. It's ignoring, which is a way of canceling the story.
Lying by omission?
Lying by omission.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you think, who was the last broadcaster that you can say the country trusted as a whole? Would that have been Edward? Would that have been Murrow? Would that have been Walter Cronkite? Who would have been in
It
your?
would have been Cronkite.
Okay.
Where
You think
the whole country, when he spoke, people listened and people felt comfortable with what he spoke about.
And I promise you, people under 40 have no idea who Walter Cronkite
That's
is.
fine. That doesn't matter. That
definitely a
doesn't even
legend.
matter.
I mean, he spoke.
No, but that's the point.
No, I know, but the point is that this guy and I heard things about Cronkite that he was as liberal as the next guy, and they were actually doing it way back then.
It doesn't matter. He only reported the facts. He reported the story and allowed you to make up your own mind.
Yeah, exactly. And then
we need more of that.
It's a weird transition from a Cronkite all the way up through a Lester Holt on NBC. That is a fascinating dissertation.
It
that
really
I would love
is.
to read.
Glenn, what do you think about national media? What do you think of Fox News? I mean, they're dominating anybody.
Yeah,
that
the
wants-
ratings are fantastic.
Okay.
But it's an echo chamber. It's an outrage machine. The select stories, culture, they're primarily focused on the culture wars. And as long as they got an audience for it, they're going to continue to do well. I think the bigger question is what's going to happen over at CNN. Where are they going to go? Are they going to pivot or are they going to double down?
Well, that's a good point.
Those are both
Hey,
losing options.
Wait. He
Yeah.
makes a good point. So CNN is
They're going to do a walk of death either way.
CNN is a liberal organization cloaking itself in a lie, and they say, "Oh no, we're the biggest name in news." No, you're not. You're literally a liberal organization. Maybe they would make more money if they just came out and said, "You know what? We're liberal.
It's a liberal
We're liberal
tabloid.
in everything we do."
By the way, from the chat line, Andrew Murphy says, "I'm 34 and I remember Walter." So thank you for letting us know that.
It makes us feel a little bit younger. I mean, do you think that CNN, that's a good example. They seem like they've tried to position themselves between Fox News and MSNBC. Tabitha, could CNN go to the side, just become liberal? I mean, it's kind of where they've buttered their bread for the last 20 years.
Well, but they're moving people around so much. I think they want to get, they want to, whether they will or not, they want to get back to the middle. They want to be considered that trusted objective source. And until they do some mass exodus of people and the editing, they're going to be in this kind of no man's land, as Vic says. It's a walk the plank one way or the other.
It really is. And guess what, Glenn? As we know in this day and age, you also answer to advertisers. And if they're getting their money from some ultra progressive companies,
Right.
they're not going to be able to do news down the middle.
Yeah.
And they're going to have no audience.
And the people that are doing news down the middle or getting those advertisers aren't going to be switching from something like Fox. They're just not.
It's fascinating. Do you think, I'm always blown away. So Fox's audience is 4-1 over their nearest competition. Their late night show, Greg Gutfeld is beating out Kinnear and all those guys at late night. Yet it seems like it's always an uphill battle for conservatives to vote for conservatives. It seems like the Democrats always have that leg up in voting.
Are you talking? What you mean cheating?
we literally have
Glenn, this is Tabitha.
We have a reputable person on right now. We can't talk about cheating right now. We have to talk about the facts on the ground. Do you see is it confusing to you how conservatives, I mean, it seems like the people who are consuming Fox News, that's a huge audience. Why is the United States not voting that way right now? Why is it why is it a much more, it's like pushing a boulder up a hill for conservatives?
We may, the conservative movement may be beating CNN in terms of ratings on Fox, but the independents make up, I think, a far greater share of the people you need to move.
Absolutely so.
Glenn, what are the chances of a third party? Tabitha's been crying for this forever. And I was like, it'll never happen. But she's like, Vic, we've got to.
I would agree with Tabitha. We need it. We need it badly to give a differing voice and to give people a choice. Some of my friends, I remember saying, this is a choice of evil versus more evil.
That's right.
And I think we've had in the past some attempts. Obviously, Ross Perot, Ralph Nader, but until there's a mass independent movement that storms the gates and says we need something new, it's not going to happen.
Is it possible that this country, and you can say no immediately if you want to, can just get rid of outlaw all parties, get rid of all.
No, we can't change the Constitution.
Can we get rid of the party system? That seems to be worse to me. That the Democrats found a very powerful mechanism as in running together like a bunch of lemmings, that they vote together. That block. It used to be you would go and become a senator and you would listen to the way that the debate, and you couldn't count on somebody voting for just your party. Now it's like every issue that comes up, the Democrats can just slam through because they have that majority. To me, it seems like the only way to save this country is to get rid of the party system. It just you run as an individual.
You can't change the Constitution. We have to stick to the Constitution.
Where in the Constitution does it say that you have to have a two-party system?
Let's let Glenn answer.
No, I would say it's not going to happen. Won't happen. It's not constitutional. It was warned. George Washington warned us all about factionalism and the rise of parties, and he was very fearful of it. But it is what we have to live with, and we either need third and fourth parties with differing views. They do it in Europe. They have multiple parties, but we don't have that parliamentary system where you have to form coalition governments. So it's a much different system. The system itself doesn't allow for more than two parties at this point.
Yeah,
it doesn't. Hey, Glenn, I'm not trying to be gotcha radio or get crazy with things, but is this administration the worst one and the decisions you've seen since you've been alive?
Yes, without a doubt. I thought no one could top Jimmy Carter and how poor, for how smart of a person he is and was at the time, how poor the decision making was. And the decision making here seems to be just, bottom rung.
Are you
I'm wondering, but is that like most of the New York residents you talk about? I mean, you grew up in New York. You're a Philly guy now. I mean, what the hell? What's going on?
Yeah, we don't. There is no semblance of a Republican Party here in Philadelphia.
However,
no opposition in New York.
However, New York did help the House come back into order with the Republicans.
But New York is like two places. It's the city, and then there's upstate. And it's vastly different, but the city dominates.
Yeah.
Glenn, do you feel that the majority of Americans are somewhere in the middle? I consider myself what I call a middle of the roader. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. No party represents me, but I'm forced to vote Republican because it's the only option.
Yeah, I do think most people view themselves in the middle or centrist. Whether that's true or not would have to be measured, but how people might identify, no one wants to identify as some screaming crazy Karen or Bob.
Hey, Glenn, is it true you voted for Fetterman there in
absolutely not true. Not true. That would be a lie. Talk about a bet, but again, this was a choice of bad versus bad. Two bad candidates. The governor was the more interesting race. The Republican basically threw in the white flag before it ever got started.
That is crazy.
How you could do another you could do so many reports on this year. It's like basically the only firewall that we have is 13 people in the House of Representatives that could potentially save this country from going over the cliff.
Potentially,
they're starting to set up right now for the presidential race. Are you watching that intently, or are you going to give it about a year to see?
Give it some time. So look, in politics, things 2-3 months is an eternity.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't it interesting how we were just talking about Carter? No doubt is the worst president. And back in 80s, we saw lines going around the block for gas. We saw a botched attempt to get our hostages out of Iran. We saw all kinds of stuff. Yet this president is worse on so many levels. As a media expert, are you stunned with how their PR machine works to keep Joe Biden looking like Ronald Reagan?
It's awfully good.
Yeah.
I mean, they spin it and they are awfully sophisticated at it. I use the word insidious for a lot of this because I think it's very much controlled by small groups of people within the administration who have this vision of what they think the country should be, and it's just not going to mesh with the majority of the people.
That is so true.
And that's where the nefariousness gets
It
to me at
really
night.
is.
At
I
me at
know.
night, because we don't know what those conversations are. It's this little old man that basically they're putting stuff in a teleprompter. It reminds me, and I said this about 2 years ago, but it's even more so now. It reminds me of Iron Man. Remember in Iron Man when they had the actor basically reading a teleprompter and he was the villain?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I feel like is going on right now.
It's a good analogy,
You know,
an Eric analogy.
Man, what was his name? I can't remember his name, but it's like, to me, it's like this, Biden, it's like, just take your vitamins, make sure you wake up tomorrow. We'll have another press conference or a teleprompter.
No, there's
event
not going
for
to be
you.
a press conference.
Yeah,
There's no press conferences. Hey, Glenn, before we let you go, any other words of wisdom, anything you want to leave us with?
Oh, keep up the good fight. I mean, really, you guys are doing it in this show, and especially spreading the word about the nature of cancel culture. I just read an article right before I came on from CNN from about 2 years ago that said it doesn't exist. That actually the people who are canceled, they still survive and do well and make money or whatever. And I don't think that's the point. I think we're really getting away from what I hope I promoted in my classroom, which was civil discourse, respect for other opinions, debate, make the debate healthy, and come to conclusions on your own.
Yeah.
And
Well, hopefully I'm a product of what you wanted it to happen, Glenn.
Give Vic a grade. Go ahead. We'll use this forever.
Thank you.
No, he didn't. He didn't want to give you a
Yeah, I know. He didn't want to give me a grade.
Give Vic a grade right now. What your
Oh, Vic
Yeah.
gets an A plus.
No,
Oh,
Yeah,
man,
baby.
come on.
Brown
Hell
noser,
yeah.
Vic.
no.
Yeah.
I'll just say one thing. The class that Vic was in was one that I'll never forget. Not because of Vic.
Not because
but-
of me.
But I won the lottery in his particular class the summer of 1995. I won the lottery with 25 fantastic, engaging students randomly.
Yeah.
Great class.
It was a breeze to teach this group.
Who
And
was the
they were-
biggest guy to come out of your tutelage?
Chris Jensen.
Chris Jensen.
He was a Gucci model.
Yeah. Right, yes.
A Gucci model, Vic.
What wasn't he a Gucci model?
He did Versace.
Oh, he's a
Versace.
He
Versace
was
model.
one day I'm walking
Look
down
him up.
Madison Avenue in New York and I look up and I see Chris Jensen.
Yeah, Chris was probably the coolest. He made it the biggest. Former Mizzou football player.
Yeah.
He was
Turned Versace model.
And he was in a small part in Mr. and Mrs. Smith because he was friends with Brad Pitt.
Who knew that? Well, that makes sense. He's
There,
from
hey,
Springfield.
you're never going to find out on this podcast. There
Yeah.
you go.
Useless trivia.
Hey, Glenn, we love you, man. Thanks again.
Thanks, Vic, guys.
We'll check
Be
back
well.
in with
Yeah.
you.
Great.
All right,
Thank
Glenn
you.
Boyer, one of my former professors at the University of Missouri, talking about media and culture. I loved what he said.
Yeah. It's media is fascinating because talking to the masses. Now, I went to a much smaller school than you did, and I was always fascinated with people who maybe Rush, or maybe it was Howard Stern, or maybe it was even the old St. Louis guys, Jack Buck and Carney and all these guys. It just fascinated me that you could turn on a radio. I just loved radio. I loved talk radio, and it was just but that was our influencers back in the day. Those were our guys. If Jack Buck said buy Ted Drew's, guess what? We went to buy Ted Drew's. If it was have a nice Busch beer, we went and had a Busch beer because they influenced us. And now we are in a situation.
You're an influencer, Eric.
All four of us in this room,
Accept it.
all four of us in this room are in a media that basically is heard around the world 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on demand. So
Mhm.
my friends, none of my friends are up at 7 o'clock in the morning. None. But I'll tell you what, the next day they will tell me about something that I said because they listened to it in California, right? At their own leisure.
Yeah,
That's where it gets powerful.
it is powerful. And that's what this whole concept is about with Cancel This. And you can always go to cancelthisshow.com. We've already had people telling today, oh, we got to get in and talk about what Lizzie and Eric talked about, living in the same haunted house with the story of Walter Scott. When we had GS3, George Steger III joining us from Mar-a-Lago, where he was at Lincoln dinner last night, talking about the LGBTQ Republicans and how they fight for a voice in this country. You know, people go back and you can check out that content. It's original content on cancelthisshow.com. We're also a 3-hour live podcast. If you're just joining us, 7 to 10 Central Time every day, Monday through Friday.
You know, someone told me the other day, they said if Elon Musk started a podcast, he would be more listened to than Rush Limbaugh.
He would be. I agree.
Think about that for a second.
He would be.
If Elon Musk took his
Accessibility.
but if
accessibility.
Elon Musk, not only would the accessibility, but the want to go listen to what he has to say.
But he's talking.
If
all day
Elon
on
Musk
Twitter.
took a camera phone into the bathroom and just turned on live stream, he would have more audience at that moment.
He does these
If
things.
anybody knows Elon, we'd love to have him on Cancel This, because people have been trying to cancel him for a while. And Elon, if you're listening, we want you. Join us, please. Give us 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes, because I'm amazed by that man and what he's been able to accomplish.
Well, people need to go to Twitter and follow Elon Musk, because he does release videos from time to time. He talks to the people all day long.
Yeah.
He posts tweets nonstop.
Yeah, that's true. Elon, if you're listening, man, we love you. We think you're even if you were doing this on a look. Everybody says, "Oh, you're just a honk for Elon because he's calling out all the liberals." No.
Well, Glenn says he's going to call him right now.
No. That is
Oh,
not
Glenn.
true. That's not true. If they were doing this to the conservative side, my friend, I'd be saying the same thing.
Elon Musk is phenomenal.
Freedom of
because
speech is the most important thing that we have in this country. It really is. Thanks, man.
Hey, by the way, you never know what's going to happen on this podcast. It is live. Listener Derek Pratt showed up. He contacted me. Eric, this is your gift. Lizzie, our director of marketing promotions, brought in awesome ornaments today. You guys, I don't even know if you can see this.
We've got all kinds of neat stuff.
Can you do a one shot of me when you get a chance, Scotty? I just wanted to show this ornament. This Cancel This ornament. I don't know if you can see it. Cancel This Show ornament 2022. Isn't that darling? Thank you, Lizzie. That is amazing.
Archived in the annals of Christmas trees.
That's going to go on the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And then Derek brought you a really
How about
cool
that?
gift in.
Get up.
Check this out.
Get
Derek
up.
Pratt. Look at that
Get up.
tumbler.
I love
Is that
it.
not the baddest ass
What the-
tumbler? And it's not just that. Check out the back of this. It's got our names on it so nobody can steal them. Hey,
I
Derek.
love it.
That
So
is
no
bad.
one can steal them. They
Well-
will steal them. What are you talking about?
Well,
If they steal it, it's
we
got your
won't
name
talk
on
about
it.
that
Yes. Yes.
I have stolen the crown.
So the Cancel
I love
This
it.
tumbler. Derek, welcome to the show, man. Hey, when you contacted me and said you wanted to do this, you live in Eureka, Missouri, right?
Yes, I do.
All right. Oh, you're wearing the hat. I love the hat. We're going to get a shot on you in just a second here. What I'm curious about to know is, do you have a company that does this, or did you just do this
So
for your own accord? And I'll hold it.
it's one of those things to where I was had an injury back in 2014, could not really get a job back in the situation that I was in. So I started teaching myself how to do woodworking, and then my wife wanted to start making tumblers, and it turned into I started making tumblers.
Yeah.
And then this is the sublimation version of our tumblers now, and we create everything on the computer and print it off, and that's the final product right there.
Ladies and
Sam,
gentlemen,
we gotta sell
welcome to the
these.
American spirit. We talk about it all the time.
Look at that thing, man.
When
That
did you
is
start your own
awesome.
business?
2015.
2015. Are you doing it full time now?
Unfortunately, because of my injury, yes, I am doing it full time.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
I'm not making the money I used to make back in the real world, but they always say, being a parent is one of the greatest things in the world.
Yeah.
I'm able to spend time with my kids all summer long.
Yeah.
I have the flexibility to, come in, stop by, support you guys, give you a little thank you.
Man, you're sitting right next to a marketing genius. You guys should talk.
Lizzie and I have talked online, and it's a pleasure meeting her in person and
Yeah.
everything. But
These cups are beautiful.
thank you.
I mean, I'm grateful, man.
Well,
Derek,
it's
what a
badass.
guy.
and the thing is, if any of the listeners are wanting something, to support you guys, just
Man, they want an Eric one. They don't want their name on it. They
as I
want an
say,
Eric one.
let me know. and the cool thing about these tumblers, guys, if you look at it, you have two different lids. So you have a sports bottle lid
I saw
where
Yeah.
you can change it over to
Yes.
Oh,
regular lid.
nice.
Yes.
and
Eric, you can fill that up with a lot of coffee.
And a lot of vodka.
I will bring mine every day. Every day I bring one. I'm gonna
Well,
start using this.
think
one.
of it this way. You see national TV shows and they have,
This is-
Dunkin' Donuts or whatever,
Yeah.
supporting them.
Dude,
Well, you know what? Cancel this. Have your own, brand.
this is not
I love
this
it.
is
Yeah,
not
he beat
one
us
that
to
you
the
would
game.
you would not
That's-
find this at a place like Ross or this is a substantial deal right here, man.
It's one of those double wall stainless steel cups. And,
Yes.
and the fact that it is supplemented,
Yeah.
know,
I
you
can't
can
tell
do
you how
anything you
many
want.
things I shatter.
Yeah,
I swear.
merch is coming. We promise you that. Lizzie, I just saw you put that on there. For now, how do people get in contact with you for anything that you can
Sure,
do?
my Facebook page is Inside Out Custom Designs. You can follow me, like me. Not only do I do cups and everything, I do woodworking. Cornhole sets are my forte.
Now you're talking
Um,
Eric's language.
But
That's right.
one of the things I've really been getting into is printing on wood media. So it kind of gives you
Mhm.
a look of an oil painting, but it's an actual print on wood.
Yeah.
And it can go anywhere from just regular photos you've taken on your phone because the quality is phenomenal.
Yep.
Large events, like for the thing on your party and everything. I could actually have something printed off with your logo on there, and you can have all of your friends at that event sign it.
Man,
So
what if
it's
we
something to put on your wall and remember.
what if we put
Damn,
your
that is
contact information on our website? Would that be
badass.
all right?
I'll make sure that Lizzie gets it. Yeah, that'd
I
be
would
great.
love to see,
appreciate
I would
your help.
love for people to, because I love entrepreneurial spirit more than anything else.
Well, we have to
I think you
support
can
you.
I think you can
Well,
go
and,
out.
and this is not one of these, hey, I'm going to try to plug myself on here.
Nobody
Nobody
wanted thinks it.
I just wanted
No.
to come and say, hey, I don't have the financial money to back you guys in a sponsorship, but if I can sit here and give you something that is part of the cancel culture that you guys are trying to stop, hey, there's more 40-year-olds like me than we think.
Yeah. And
They're
everybody,
just not loud enough and boisterous enough to speak like I do.
yeah. And you
Well,
create
we're
a
more
product.
than willing to accept gifts, so thank you. I mean, this is tough, but we'll manage.
Well,
and people will support. If you support us, people need to go out and support you.
Yeah.
Oh, and I appreciate
I
that.
made you for our listeners. I made you get on camera, so
and that's fine. Yeah.
and I just want to say,
That's true.
Yeah.
he didn't do
He
this,
did.
Yeah.
but now that he accepted, how can people? We'll get that, but can you at least say it?
Sure, it's Inside Out Custom Designs, and if you look on the bottom of the cup there, Vic,
All
there's
right.
a QR code.
Oh,
How
nice.
to promote yourself? The easiest way is to
Yeah.
put something on the cup. So if anybody ever asks,
love
hey,
it.
where'd you get that from? Technology, you can scan the bottom of that cup.
Absolutely
go on
love
Facebook.
it.
Well, you may be
I'm-
giving people ideas too. So I mean, you're very creative.
That's a great idea. So it's one of those things. I first got in touch with Vic. I think it was when you were on the other station.
Yeah.
When because I'm one of those Rockwood parents that got canceled myself.
Oh yeah.
So it's one of those things where I'm part of your cancel culture because I've been canceled myself.
Has Rockwood got any better?
Yes, we have a couple of strong people on the board, and there are 3 spots available this coming spring. So
yeah, that's going to be
Rockwood
interesting.
parents, Rockwood voters, back your conservative voices, because if you really think about it, the state, the local level is where you have the most power. And from what I understand, the most power is literally sitting in your school board.
Yes,
It's in
definitely,
your school board.
Definitely, yeah. Parents, that's how you don't vote for president for you vote for these school board members. You say, all right, it's time to get small and go vote for these guys. Did anyone get voted out on the last one?
Yes, there was. Matter of fact, one gentleman, which I believe he is running again, Tom Dunn. He was a board member. He stepped away, but the other lady did not rerun.
Mhm.
There was a couple great candidates out there on the conservative side. Obviously, we had some opposition, and it was a lot of canceling of each other.
Wow.
Yeah. And for those listening to the show who may not understand what Derek is talking about, Rockwood School District is the largest school district in the state of Missouri. So just passing that along too. And Derek, thanks for joining us,
Hey,
man.
my pleasure.
We appreciate it. You're welcome here anytime, my friend. And if you ever have any story ideas or if anything's happening in communities, let us know because we'll certainly cover Rockwood, my friend.
Definitely will. Thank you guys.
Are you
Appreciate it.
coming?
All right,
are you
Derek.
coming to the kickoff party next week?
I'm going to try to. I have 3 kids.
Yeah,
and
Bring
I'm-
them.
right.
Bring them. I started early.
I'm also trying to finish all the Christmas orders from craft fair season
Yeah.
and everything. So
I have a prediction. This
That's
time
all
next
right.
year, you will be super, super successful, more business than you need. You'll have multiple employees that you have to hire throughout this
well,
next year.
I hope so. My kids are kind of my employees right now. I'm kind of teaching them some of the things that I've learned.
Good for
myself.
you.
So you
Good
know,
for you, man. That's,
having that
that's how
8th
you do
grader
it.
that's interested in the woodworking and everything, she's kind of really taken a liking to
Good.
what's going on.
That's awesome. Well,
Wow.
Derek, thank you, man. Thanks for joining us
Hey,
today.
thanks
And
for having me. I appreciate
Tabitha,
it.
I get that was perfect what you were just talking about, Tabitha, because what we do is we have our party coming up next Thursday. Once again, Wenty's, 7 p.m. till whenever. You can come out and join us. Eric, you have to show up.
Do I? I mean, of course I
you,
will.
you have to be there. You can come out.
I'm not looking at it as
laying
I
out-
have to be there. I
We're-
want to be there.
We're looking forward to catching up with everybody next week. 7 o'clock, Wenty's. If you get a chance, come on, stop by. It's in our backyard, great place. And of course, Wenty's, the sports
So,
bar of
we're-
this show, the official sports
we're
bar of
trying.
this show.
We're trying to invent a shot, and we don't know what to put in it. What do you think?
Well, it's going to be a blue one. That's
Has
got
to
to
be
be blue
blue.
color. So if anybody has ideas,
Only
if
so
you
many
wanna-
options.
What are the
Yeah,
options
it's a
for
cancel.
blue?
I don't know.
Zero Cal is
Cancel.
one of them.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, that's the obvious one. So Glenn wants Eric to wear his PRL wig
Come
next
on,
week.
man. Come on, man.
You've got to wear. Yeah, it's
I'm not a
like-
prostitute. I don't do what you
Yeah,
do.
you are. There is
No.
nothing wrong with doing that. Also, just reminded, thanks for all the guests today. We're now finishing up 3 weeks on Cancel This. And of course, you can go to cancelthisshow.com to check out all of our content. If you know somebody that should be on the show, whether it's local, national, let us know if there's topics that you wanted us to cover. Tabitha is going through things on a daily basis. I mean, there were like 30 show topics we could have done today. We were just so packed, but we're thankful for everybody joining this. We're going to be telling you some numbers, but our marketing company is letting us know now. I'm not trying to toot our horn or anything, but the impressions and the followers and the views and the engagement for a startup podcast has been absolutely amazing. We're grateful for that. We're grateful to the people who have already sponsored us, who are giving money, who will be starting soon and in January when we put all of this stuff together. You know who you are. Spread the word. We appreciate it. Also, to all the guests that we've had, specifically today, thanks to Lizzie for coming in, director of our marketing promotions. Nobody matches her on Facebook. That's a fact. And promoting the show. Can't wait to get her out in the community. Plus, Glenn, who just joined us today, former professor of mine, George, who joined us as well. So, and Derek, of course, who came in today. Can you guys think of anything else in 3 weeks? I mean, Scotty's joining in the show now. Scotty, thanks for getting us up and running. We've got a ton
Nights
of
back.
great things coming.
Nights back. All the, I mean, it's
The gang's all back.
Yeah.
We're shooting big. So if you guys have ideas, we're trying to do something different here and get all the voices involved. Have some fun in the process.
Is it fun? Is it fun?
Yes, I'm having a blast.
Is it fun outing the liberal media for the sins that they have put upon us?
Well,
Is
outing
it fun?
everybody. Outing
Somebody's got to
everybody.
do it. It's like we're vampire hunters.
Gosh.
Well, she's a vampire hunter for real, but I mean, we're like vampire. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
As a listener, it's fun.
As a listener, it's
As
fun.
a listener,
Tabitha, anything else we need to remind people about today? Anything else going on?
Stay warm. It's going to
No,
get really
my
cold
God,
out
that's not till
there
next
in
week.
Come on.
Missouri.
Well, what about the people in
Yeah.
Florida? You're talking about people in Missouri, right? Next
People in
week.
Missouri, yes. It's
Single
going to be
digits.
really cold here.
Because of our weather and pattern shifts, we've had a very mild fall and winter.
Hey, that doesn't mean we need cold now.
Well, it's called winter for a reason.
Yeah. Vic is starting his holiday party right now. You are literally hours away from
You gonna join us tonight?
quite a.
We've
quite
only
an
got 3
evening.
parties tonight
You only got 3 parties.
and 1 tomorrow.
Jeez. And these are heavy hitters too, man.
Oh yeah, they're heavy hitters.
I'm telling you. I
One
know.
of those will be. I'm contemplating going, but I doubt I do.
All right.
So one of those.
Well, and we'll be talking about as we get out. Cancel this, Derek. Once again, thank you.
Thanks, man.
These are the best
I
tumblers
cannot
ever.
wait.
enjoy.
What an awesome Christmas gift for us, or I'll speak for myself. What a great Christmas gift. Love it, love it, love it. Appreciate it so much. We calling the show. Anything else we need to remind people of? All the
If you're in Cedar Rapids, you can come see PRL tomorrow night. You won't be.
wait, you're in Cedar. What?
Yeah.
You're You're
Yeah.
in Cedar Rapids
Yeah,
tomorrow night?
tomorrow night, Cedar Rapids. Come
Have
on
you
out.
played in Cedar Rapids before?
Oh yeah.
How's the crowd in Cedar Rapids?
Fantastic.
Is the crowd better in Cedar Rapids or Kansas City?
Kansas City.
Oh,
Yeah, Kansas City. That's New Year's Eve. You want to go to a cool place? We're going to play at the Power Light District in Kansas City, Missouri.
what new? That's where it'll be New Year's Eve.
Yeah, New Year's Eve out in the cold. It'll be the ball drop.
You
down
got
in
plans
Kansas
yet,
City.
Tabitha? Besides reading the internet on New Year's Eve?
Besides reading the internet.
I'm not a big New Year's Eve person. I don't typically go out on New Year's Eve. I think it's overrated.
Yeah, she's cleaning her guns.
Wow,
She's
hate
cleaning her
life
guns
much?
at night.
Hate life much? Jeez, Tab.
I do. I think New Year's Eve is overrated. It's like all these big parties, and you usually go and it's just like any other night.
Damn.
Love
Save
it.
your money, stay home.
Damn. Okay.
Tabitha, we love you. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us today. We're going to call it a show. Thank you. 3 weeks in the books on Cancel This. Remember to always go to cancelthisshow.com, cancelthisshow.com. Share the show. You can still interact in the comment line. We'll respond to you. We'll get into it. We're grateful for all the time that you're giving us so far. Chris Knight's not here today, but he's been up and out. Scotty Gherkin, part of the show. Lizzie Sparks, Eric Johnson, Tabitha Hassel. I'm Vic Faust. Thanks for watching this episode. This live through our podcast of Cancel This. Go to cancelthisshow.com. We'll see you until next time.